UL Washington, the on-deck hitter. It is 2 strikes on Willie Wilson. Bases loaded. 2 outs. What pressure on McGraw, what pressure on Wilson.
Game 6 of the World Series will be in Philadelphia Tuesday night, and the Phillies will be 1 game away from the championship thanks to their rally today that gave them a 4-3 win over Kansas City. It was a contest loaded with big plays, as the highlights will show. Let's go to those highlights. In the 3rd inning, watch Royal second baseman Frank White make a beautiful catch on Bob Boone's pop-up. White then relays the ball in to double up Larry Boa at first. But in the 4th, no one could catch Mike Schmidt's fly ball. It was his 2nd home run of the series and gave the Phillies a 2-run lead. In the 6th, with the Royals trailing 2-1, Amos Otis homered his 3rd of the series, and that tied the contest. A little later, the Royals broke the tie when UL Washington sacrifice fly drove in Clint Hurdle, and it was 3-2 Kansas City. It remained that way until the top of the 9th, when reliable Dale Unser came up to pinch hit with Mike Schmidt on first. Unser smashed a double off Dan Quisenberry. Schmidt turned on the speed and scored all the way from first to tie the game at 3. Dallas Green was confident. Manny Trio then came up, hit a shot off Quisenberry. Brett made an effort, but Unser scored to give the Phillies a 4-3 victory and a 3-2 lead in the series. Harry Carey, what do you think?
I am heartsick.
Yeah, you picked them to win.
Well, I picked Kansas City to win in 5. They could have won the first 5 games of the series easily, and they were beaten today. How many base runners did they have? They must have had 13, 14 hits.
A ton of them. How do you analyze it? What seems to be the problem with Kansas City?
Well, I think that you never know pressure until you see it in the big tent, which is the World Series. I think guys that ordinarily drive in runs are not doing it. For example, I've never seen George Brett called out on strikes in a game situation in my entire life. And I've seen him since he first broke in. Now, what could have happened? I'll bet you that same pitch that Tug McGraw struck him out on, he hits down the left field line for 2 or 3 bases another day. But you can't put the finger on George because you know he's hurting.
What do they do to turn it around?
Well, number 1, they got to beat Carlton, which is a big assignment. If they beat Carlton, then they got as good a chance as the other guy. This is the first game that anybody won on the other guy's territory.
Right.
The Phillies won their first game in Kansas City. Kansas City is yet to win a game in Philadelphia. And they're wondering probably right now about this city of brotherly love. If we're all brothers, one of us ought to win sometimes, right?
Right. Now, are you going to stick with your pick? You're going to stay with Kansas City?
I got to go with Kansas City. I'm stuck with it. What else could I do?
Okay. Thanks a lot for stopping by,
All right, Jerry.
Harry.
Fine.
That's sports.
Game 5 was the pivotal game. Bystrom held the Royals at bay until the 6th. Once again, that McBride to Trio connection worked like magic.
Here's Darrell Porter being waved around third. Manny Trio's relay throw, and Porter is out at home plate. What a great throw by Trio.
More familiar territory. Down by a run in the 9th, and another mistake by the Royals.
Jim Fry screamed at George Brett, move in, he might bunt. And there was no way I was going to bunt. There was no way I was going to bunt being down 1 run with the potential for a home run.
Hot smash, Brett knocks it down. It's a base hit for Mike Schmidt.
It was Dell's turn to shine once again.
Swing and a smash past Akins and down the right field line. Mike Schmidt is heading for third base, being waved around third. Here is the relay throw to the plate, and Schmidt is safe at home plate. Phillies have tied the game here in the ninth.
This was obviously thrilling, and we needed to kind of even it up and stop the bleeding and get back to Philly.
And who could forget Manny?
Quisenberry. Brett picks up the ball, throws, not in time. Unser scores, and the Phillies lead it 4-3.
By now, Tug's high wire act was getting routine. But with one swing of the bat, Al McRae almost turned the series around.
Stands, Unser there, can't get it, foul, just barely foul.
Okay, bottom of the ninth, bases loaded. Only Tug McGraw could have scripted what happened next.
The bat ended up rolling out right out to the mound, right at my feet. And he says, you know, like, throw me my bat. And I'm telling him, you come and get your bat. You put it here, you come and get it. And just as he went to reach for it, I gave him a boom, little jab right in the solar plexus. So I let him know that even though we're friends, we're still on the field of battle.
1-2 pitch. Swing and a miss. He's him out with a fastball. Tug McGraw wins another one, and the Phillies are now up on Kansas City 3-2 and going back to Philadelphia.
Good evening and welcome to Philadelphia. I'm Brian Gumbel. Welcome to Game 6. As I'm sure all of you know, the Phillies are out in front in games by a score of 3-2. They will start tonight. Lefty Steve Carlton, their ace. The Royals will counter with Rich Gale, their starting pitcher, in Game 3. There'll be a couple of changes in the starting lineup. Jose Cardinal will start in right. John Wathan will start behind the plate for the Royals. For the Phillies, the man on the bench and the man to watch, once again, will be Del Unser. He has come off the bench twice in this series with key pinch hits, conjuring up memories of Dusty Rhodes and his pinch hitting of 51. Del, do you find it flattering to be labeled a modern-day Dusty Rhodes?
Well, I don't really know. I don't like to be labeled anything but Del. I just like to do what I can do in a situation whenever they call on me.
It has been a tremendous string of pinch hits, though. To what do you attribute the success?
I think Billy DeMars has helped me immensely in just shortening my stroke. When I came down here from Montreal, I had trouble with a great big stroke and trying to hit home runs. Instead, I tried to shorten it up and wound up hitting more home runs last year and just driving the ball well this year.
Manny Mota's the all-time pinch hit leader. I know he tells me that when he thinks he's going to be going in a game, about the fifth inning, he goes in the back and starts swinging. Do you have a routine you go through?
Well, George Vukovich, Greg Gross, and myself, all three left-handed pinch hitters, will go up and down the runway at about the third, fifth, seventh innings and loosen up in the clubhouse and swing a lot and talk about what pitchers are in their bullpen and see if we've got anything on them. For example, have their pitches or have an idea as to how they'll pitch us. And I get information throughout the game from the left-handed hitters that I'm talking with, too, so that helps. Getting the two pinch doubles has got to be a great deal of satisfaction. Does it make you feel like you've contributed as much as any starter to this series? Well, to the series, it does. The playoffs and the series, it's great to contribute when the game is really on the line, and that's very rewarding to me personally, and I know it is to the rest of the guys. They know I work hard, and I know they work hard, and it's kind of a mutual thing. It's pretty much a team. Del Unser, thank you very much. Thank you, Brian. Much appreciated. It has worked out fine every time Del Unser has pinch hit, but there has been room for some second guessing in this series, and we will second guess with Jim Fry and Bake McBride when we come back. Part of the fun of being a baseball fan is the chance to second guess players, managers, calls. Sunday's game provided that opportunity, particularly against a man named Jim Fry, who managed the ninth inning, saw Kansas City Royals lose a 3-2 lead, lose a 4-3 ball game. Jim, let me start off first of all by asking you, why didn't you replace Willie Aikens with Pete Lecoq in the top of the ninth?
Well, my reason really was that in a one-run ball game, of course, and with this ball club out here, Phillies, they have been able to come back. In the previous game, as a matter of fact, in the third ball game, I did much the same thing. I kept Willie in. We had a one-run lead going into the eighth. I left him in the ball game because the possibility of them tying it, I wanted him to hit. In that ball game, he turned out to be the hero. In the 10th inning, he got a base hit to win it, and my thinking was the same in the fifth game, really.
But that's a move you've made defensively throughout the year, so it was just by the Phillies? It was because of the Phillies you didn't make the move?
Not really. It was the situation, the one-run lead, really, more than anything. Any club you're playing, they can come up with a run. It doesn't have to involve the first baseman, and I like to have the big fella, especially he's been swinging the bat real well for us. I wanted to have him available if that situation arose.
Okay, let's move to the bottom of the ninth. Bases loaded, 2 out. Cardinal due to hit. A lot of people are wondering why you didn't hit John Wathan, who on record is a better hitter.
Well, as a matter of fact, we acquired Cardinal to be a right-handed hitter against left-hand pitching. During the time that he was with our ball club, I played him against some left-handers and pinch hit him. He hit .340 for us in that role, as a matter of fact. Did a very good job for us, and I felt as if he knew McGraw. I felt he'd be comfortable in that situation against McGraw, and that's the reason I went with him.
Okay, Jim Fry, thank you very much. The most controversial call of Game 5 occurred in the 6th inning. Royals had themselves a 3-2 lead. There were 2 out, runners on first and third, when Hal McRae hit a ball to the corner and right. Bake McBride went to the corner and came away with a baseball in his glove, but there still seems to be some debate on whether the ball was caught or whether it was trapped. It was ruled a catch, end of inning, end of Royals rally. Bake McBride, let me ask you, and look me in the eye, don't look away. Did you catch the baseball?
I can't really tell you. When I went to the wall, I closed my eyes, and, the ball was in my glove. So.
Hold it. You closed your eyes?
I closed my eyes because I saw the wall, and, I didn't want nothing to happen to my face. So, I can't really say if I caught the ball or not. I don't know if it hit off the wall or if it hit in my glove first.
Did it feel like it hit in the webbing of the glove or off the thumb part like it would if it was trapped?
It hit off the thumb part and went into the webbing. And, I can't say if it hit the wall first or not.
Will that answer change after the series?
No, I'm going to still have the same answer. I can't tell you if I caught the ball or not.
Having seen it on the replay, what do you think?
I think I caught it. I do. Because it looks like it hit the thumb of my glove first and then it went into the webbing.
You closed your eyes. If that isn't an answer for an election year, I don't know what is. Big thank you much. We're going to step aside for just a moment. We come back, we will say goodbye to 2 old friends of baseball, a tribute to Bill Veeck and Charlie Finley, right after this. Since this could be our last baseball show of 1980, it could also be our last chance to say goodbye to 2 of baseball's most controversial and combative figures over the year, a tribute of sorts to Bill Veeck and Charlie Finley. In 1946, Bill Veeck, at the age of 32, became the owner of the Cleveland Indians. And 2 years later, the Indians rewarded him with their first pennant in 28 years and drew over 2.6 million fans. 3 years later, in 1951, the headline-conscious Veeck took over the lowly St. Louis Browns and produced a 3-foot-7-inch pinch hitter named Eddie Goodell, who walked on 4 pitches before being barred from baseball the next day. In 59, Veeck bought the Chicago White Sox, who promptly won their first pennant since 1919. Within 2 years, he retired because of illness. 14 years later, in 1975, Veeck returned to Chicago just in time to keep the franchise from floating to another city. Again, Bill Veeck made it fun to be at the ballpark on Chicago's South Side. Veeck's philosophy? Create the greatest enjoyment for the greatest number of people. In 1977, although finishing 12 games out of first, the White Sox won 90 games and set their all-time attendance record, almost 1,700,000 fans. A Veeck favorite, a Veeck trademark, was the exploding scoreboard, which he introduced in 1960. Another Veeck specialty, unique uniforms, one set even featuring short pants. But as baseball uniforms changed, so did the game's monetary structure.
It isn't really the stars that are expensive. It's the high cost of mediocrity.
On August 22nd, the high cost of mediocrity had the White Sox $3 million in debt. The man who insisted that everyone call him by his first name sold the team for $20 million. Charles Oscar Finley entered baseball with no sports background. As an insurance man who had long tried to buy a ball club, Finley entered the field in 1960 with the struggling Kansas City A's. In 68, the team moved to Oakland and there struck up a winning combo. Although as stubborn as his mule, Charlie O, Finley turned his A's into a powerhouse. He even paid his players to grow mustaches. He furnished them with multicolored uniforms. Other teams quickly followed suit. Finley was an early proponent of the orange baseball, the designated hitter, and the World Series to be played under the lights. He hired 18 managers in 20 years and hired 3 men twice. But despite such turmoil, his A's won 5 straight divisional titles and 3 straight World Series. The team began to crumble in 75. The glory days were over. Catfish Hunter had found a loophole in his contract, and he was declared a free agent. The exodus of stars had just begun. Charlie Finley simply couldn't cope with free agency and the new era of big spenders.
It looked to me, reminded me of a den of thieves out to cut one another's throat.
In 1979, the A's drew only 300,000 fans and lost 108 games, every which way. Despite this year's revival by Billy Martin, on August 23rd, one day after the sale of the White Sox, Charles O. Finley sold the A's for $12.7 million. And as we say goodbye to Charlie and Bill, we note that the sale of the White Sox comes up for approval on Friday. Game 6 coming up just moments away. It'll be Steve Carlton for the Phillies going against Rich Gale for the Royals. Tony, Joe, and Tom will have first pitch right after this update from NBC News.
This evening from Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia, NBC Sports presents Game 6 of the 1980 World Series. The American League champions, the Kansas City Royals, versus the National League champions, the Philadelphia Phillies. Brought to you by Light Beer, everything you always wanted in a beer and less. By Gillette Track 2, to guys who use a twin blade Gillette Track 2, no other blade will do. By Ford and your local Ford dealer who invite you to test drive the new 1981 Ford cars and trucks. And by Pepsi Cola and your local Pepsi Cola bottler who invite you to catch that Pepsi spirit. Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia. A beautiful night for baseball, 60 degrees, and these Philly fans are really ready, as I'm sure you can hear in the background. Hi, everybody. I'm Joe Garagiola, and we're getting ready for Game 6. We're going to have over 65,000 cheering fans here in Philadelphia. They're expecting the kind of a game they've been watching throughout this series. A series that has seen either ball club go into the 9th inning with a chance to win. The Royals, they're capable of winning here in Philadelphia, as capable as the Phillies were winning in Kansas City to bring it back 3-2. Royals fans are asking, can the Royals win? The Phillies fans, when they're not cheering, are saying, how soon will the Phillies fall behind so they can catch up and win? Tom Seaver is with the man who makes this Philly outfit go, according to many. Let's go to Tom.
Thank you, Joe. Pete, Paul Owens, your general manager, said that you were the one player to push this team over the top, and you watched the Phillies play for many years when you were with the Cincinnati Reds. What is it that they needed? What is it you brought to this ball club to push them over the top?
Well, first of all, Tom, when I came to Philadelphia, I don't think because I had 3,000 hits or made many all-star games or got 200 hits many times that I was going to be a team leader, because I think team leadership comes from respect from your peers, from watching you play on a daily basis. And last year I had a lot of adversity off the field, and I played hard 162 games long. And this year I played hard 163 games long, and I just think the players could see how I could concentrate on their different things and play hard day in and day out, and I think that rubbed off on some of my teammates. I think, if anything, this ball club lacked, I know when we played them in '76, they had a lead against us in a couple of the games in the playoffs, and they just lacked that killer instinct. And, you know, there's no tomorrow in the playoffs, and I really emphasize the pressure in the playoffs, how important the playoffs are, and how much fun the World Series should be. I think these guys have listened to everything that I've said, and they've done a great job so far.
You lead on the field. The guy in the dugout, Dallas Green, has had his ups and downs with his players, but he's gotten you one game from a world championship.
Well, I think he should be manager of the year. I think the problems he's had, Tom, is simply he's a very much of a disciplinarian. And I think the guy they had before him, Danny Ozark, who was very successful, wasn't quite the disciplinarian that Dallas is, and some of the guys resented that. But I think Dallas has got through to the guys that he had to get through to in 1980.
Thanks, Pete. Good luck tonight.
Thank you, Tom.
All right, let's go over to Tony Kubek, who has Frank White with him.
All right, thank you, Tom. Frank, you are not sitting in what you would call an ideal situation. Coming into Philadelphia, you have to win 2 ball games. What is the attitude of the ball club?
Well, I think the ball club basically is just looking at it as a challenge. I think we're trying to use coming into Philadelphia, being a game down and having to win 2 ball games. We're trying to use that as a challenge for the ball club to get up for the night's ball game.
You're facing a man, a left-hander, probably will be the Cy Young Award winner in the National League, Steve Carlton. Many people in the National League and in this town especially feel he is invincible. What do you think?
Well, no pitcher's invincible. We faced him here earlier in the series, and we had a lot of opportunities. We didn't know him that well, and he had a lot of control problems. He blamed it on the balls being too slick, so I'm just waiting to see him tonight, and I believe that our hitters can hit anybody, and it's just a matter of whether we can keep the Phillies from scoring.
All right, Frank, thank you so much. Back upstairs now to Joe Garagiola.
Okay, Tony, the pitching, the rotation finds Steve Carlton, the #1 pitcher for the Phillies. He's working tonight. In the rotation, Rich Gale is #3. He's pitching tonight. Does it make a difference? I believe what Mike Schmidt said. The only difference is we have it tomorrow. The Royals do not. We'll find out. Let's go to the PA announcer and our national anthem.
As country and western singer and former Major League Baseball player Charlie Pride honors America by singing our national anthem. Sorry, I'm thinking, that's not your fault. I know where you're going. They're queuing him down.
At the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we walked, were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner get waved o'er the land of the free and the home
Charlie Pride, who played baseball, loves baseball, with our national anthem. Some 65,000 people here. The stage is set. We'll be back with the first pitch of Game 6 right after these messages. Gale against Carlton. Should be a great night. Veterans Stadium, Game 6. The stage is set, and we're ready for our ceremonial first pitch. Let's go to first base.
Attention to the VIP box on the right field side of the Phillies dugout, where the ceremonial first pitch will be thrown out by a symbol of Phillies baseball for 20 years. He's among the Phillies career leaders in games played, at-bats, hits, and stolen bases. Tony Taylor.
Game 6 brings out almost 66,000 fans, the largest World Series crowd in 16 years. A record-breaking television audience is also watching. Getting things underway is Tony Taylor, a Philly infielder for so many of the lean years. But these are the halcyon days of lefty Carlton and lofty ambition.
Here's the defense the Philadelphia Phillies will have behind Carlton tonight. Lonnie Smith in left, Gary Maddox in center, Bake McBride in right field, Mike Schmidt in third, Larry Bow at short, Manny Trio, the second baseman, Pete Rose at first. Bob Boone has really caught a great series thus far, and the man on the mound is Steve Carlton. Right now, we'll have Joe Garagiola give you the starting lineup for the Kansas City Royals, the one that will face Carlton tonight.
And here is the lineup for the Kansas City Royals. Leading off, Willie Wilson in left field. Batting second, the shortstop, UL Washington. Batting third at third base, George Brett. In the cleanup spot, designated hitter, Hal McRae. Amos Otis bats fifth. He's in center field. Willie Aikens at first base, batting sixth. Batting seventh, the catcher, John Wathan. Batting eighth, the right fielder, Jose Cardinal. And batting ninth, the second baseman, Frank White. Tom, Steve Carlton, even George Brett in the interview talked about he couldn't get his breaking ball over. What are you looking for tonight?
Well, you're going to look more of the same for Steve Carlton, a big, powerful pitcher, Joe. The trouble that Steve Carlton had in Game 2, I think, and he said after the game, the slickness of the baseball, the shininess of the baseball,
prevented him from throwing his real good breaking ball. I think the thing tonight, looking at Steve, of course, 24-9 on the year, probably the Cy Young Award winner in the National League this year. The thing to remember about him is that counting spring training, the league championship series, the regular season, everything all combined, he's already thrown over 350 innings. So you might see a tired Steve Carlton tonight. He was tired in game 2.
1 strike to count. Strike 2. Wilson has already struck out 9 times in 5 games, close to a record. 1 ball, 2 strikes, a jam-packed ballpark, and this town has just been waiting for their Philadelphia Phillies. They are really up. Struck him out 10 times out on strikes, Willie Wilson. A 6-game series, Jim Bottomley had the record at 9, but here it is again.
You may see a Steve Carlton tonight, 350 innings all year long, but one thing to remember is that he's got an extra day's rest. This is his 6th day that he's pitching. That extra day's rest could give a pitcher a little bit of pop, and he certainly looks like he's throwing very hard. He did to Willie Wilson, the first hitter up.
Here's UL Washington, and once again early in the game you see that toothpick, and you youngsters, it's all right for UL Washington, but that's one thing, please don't copy. He can do it, you really can't. Strike 1, it's dangerous.
Carlton looks fast tonight. He turned 1 ball over to Wilson on the outside corner, but he's thrown nothing but heat.
2 balls and a strike.
Tom, you talked about the innings that Carlton has pitched. He has one of the most strenuous conditioning programs under the tutelage of Gus Heffling that I have ever seen, and he feels that he can bounce back a little bit faster than most guys under this program.
2-2 the count, a fastball on UL Washington, 1 out, nobody on.
Tony, there's no question he knows that it helps him, and he works very hard at it. The only thing that is concerning tonight would be a concern tonight that he does have all those innings. 350 innings is an awful lot of innings for a starting pitcher to pitch in this era.
Misses. Full count, 3 balls, 2 strikes. The on-deck batter, George Brett. How do you pitch him? Well, we got all kinds of answers. Struck him out.
Well, Joe, you just asked the question, how do you pitch George Brett? We went to one of the closest members of his family, his brother, and asked Kenny, a pitcher on this team, how you pitch to George?
Well, I faced my brother George once in spring training, the first time I ever did, and he hit a ball about 430 feet off me. I've been scared to pitch to him ever since then. So what I'm going to suggest the Phillies do is, first of all, take off your shoe and throw this at him. He doesn't hit shoes too well. If that doesn't work, throw your glove at him. This is a first baseman's glove. He doesn't like to hit first baseman's glove. And last thing I would suggest is put the glove back on your hand, sneak behind the mound, put the rosin bag in your glove, and pretend like it's a baseball. Throw the rosin bag at him, and hopefully don't hurt him.
It's a different way of pitching, and Ken Brett, his brother. And George doesn't get the first one, strike 1.
He's been a little mini slump since the knockdown incident. He's 1 for 8.
Strike 2. Steve Carlton working in a hurry. He is firing, rearing back and firing. He has struck out the first 2 batters. 2 strikes, no balls, George Brett. Booney looking for a waste pitch, picks it off nicely. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Tony referred to it. Boone has had a tremendous series.
He is picking balls out of the dirt, Joe. It's just been unbelievable this entire series, especially with the kid pitchers who've pitched.
Bouncing ball, Trio to his right, has it in time. So it's 3 up, 3 down for the Kansas City Royals. Bottom of the first, no score. It'll be Smith, Rose, and Schmidt for the Phillies. And for the Philadelphia Phillies, Lonnie Smith in left field leads off. Batting second, the first baseman, Pete Rose. Batting third, Mike Schmidt, third base. In the cleanup spot, Bake McBride, right field. Greg Luzinski batting fifth, the DH. Gary Maddox in center field. Batting seventh, Manny Trio, the second baseman. Batting eighth, Larry Boa, the shortstop. And batting ninth, the catcher, Bob Boone.
And here's the Royals defense. Willie Wilson in left. Amos Otis in center. Jose Cardinal out in right today. George Brett at third. UL Washington at short. Frank White, the second baseman. Willie Mays Aikens at first. John Wathen is catching today. And it's Rich Gale who is in his second World Series game.
Rich Gale, big 6'7", 225-pound right-handed pitcher, 26 years old. He pitched in game number 3 for the Royals. Pitched 4 1/3 innings. About 2 runs on 7 hits. He walked 3 and struck out 3. You'll see a power pitcher, what the Phillies like to describe more like a pitcher they would normally see in the National League. Good hard fastball, good slider. Dr. Billy Connors, the pitching coach, he said his instructions to Rich Gale tonight, go out there and give it your best, whether it's 1 inning, 2 innings, 3 innings, 4 innings. Go as hard as long as you possibly can. That's what they want from Rich Gale tonight.
There you see the dimensions here in this ballpark. A park a little bit unlike Royal Stadium. This park, the ball flies on a little bit better. I got to believe the key, Joe, for Gale today, if he's going to have a good outing or a good 5-6 innings, can he get his curveball over? He gets his curveball over, they can't sit on that fastball.
You got to have the pitch they're looking for and the one to cross him up. Here is Lonnie Smith. Smith has been in 5 games. Been to bat 15 times with 4 hits. He struck out once, walked once, hitting .267. Strike 1.
I like this kid as an offensive player. He has tremendous speed when he does get on base. He has a good quick bat. He spent his time in the minor leagues. They were afraid of his defense. Or offensively, he can hurt you.
Frank White. These 2 second basemen have just been something. Frank White has been amazing. Manny Trio, both of them. Trio with his relay throws, White with the glove.
Joe, this is just a routine play, but both White and Boas said before the series, the team that makes all the routine plays will have the better defensive series. It's not just at second base, it's throughout the middle of the diamond. Boas not missed a play yet. He's made them all. And UL Washington's made some good plays.
Here is Pete Rose. Rose hitting .158. 3 for 19. Didn't mean to swing, it's a base hit. Rose is on with a single. And it'll bring up Mike Schmidt, who'll get a tremendous hand from this crowd.
Here comes from left center field, a check swing. Slider, a cut fastball. One of those oops. And I'll tell you one thing. Wilson better not do that too often on Rose. Go down on one knee and just take his time. As people keep going.
Mike Schmidt. Schmidt is 7 for 18. He has scored 6 runs, hitting .389. 2 home runs, 5 runs batted in. Popped up. UL Washington and Frank White. UL Washington says, I'll take it. So there are 2 away. And it brings up Bake McBride. McBride has hit 1 home run. That was a 3-run homer. He's driven in 4, hitting .368. 7 for 19. Rose at first, 2 outs, no score. It is low, ball 1. Tom, when you measure crowds, we measure how loud they can get. Is this about the loudest in the National League?
The loudest is the Astrodome, Joe, because of the enclosure. The Phillies down there said they have never heard anything when they were playing the Astros in the playoffs. Never heard anything or any place, any ballpark so loud as the Astrodome.
Where would you rank these Phillies?
They're very close. These fans here, and when they can fill up Shea Stadium, very vocal fans here in Philadelphia and New York.
1-0 pitch. Left field. Willie Wilson coming in. He's there, makes the catch. Ball was hit hard. Wilson played it well. That retires the side. No score. We complete 1 inning of play here. It's Kansas City nothing, Philadelphia nothing. And due up for the Kansas City Royals in the second inning, it'll be Hal McRae, Amos Otis, and Willie Aikens. Hal McRae leads it off, hitting at .450, 9 base hits, 20 times at bat. He has 3 doubles. 2 of them were literally singles that he just stretched into doubles by aggressive base running. Hal McRae. They play him towards the right field line. And he pops the first pitch up. Trio, McBride. McBride says, I'll take it. 1 out.
Well, Joe, you've sat up here for 5 games in the World Series, and I know you've admired Bob Boone, the catcher. He's caught walk. Bystrom, 2 rookies. We asked him about Carlton and what he has to do tonight.
Steve Carlton tonight has got to pitch his game. We won't do anything special to any of the Kansas City players. He's got to have his good slider. If he has that, he'll give us an outstanding effort. If he doesn't have it, he'll give us a fine effort, and we know we'll be in the ballgame.
He's either going to be great and beat him, or he's going to be just less than great and beat him, I guess. But they say about the last 10 times he's been out, Carlton, he really hasn't had his great stuff. Early in the year, he just overpowered everyone.
He's got his good slider. He'll win. If he doesn't, he'll keep us close. What a tribute. Here's Amos Otis. Otis hitting at 550. There's the strike. Otis has been to bat 20 times. He has 11 base hits. He has scored 4 runs, 2 doubles, 3 home runs, 7 runs batted in. He didn't like the call by Bremigan.
Well, Carlton, the last time out in this World Series against Kansas City, he had a lot of base runners, a lot of chances off him, but he got the double play 3 times when he needed it and got the strikeouts when he needed it with men on base. He seems to be able to reach back and come up with that big pitch.
Strike 2. And Otis is upset again. Outside. 1 ball, 2 strikes. There's been much said about Carlton's refusal to talk to the press. I'll tell you, it's a decision he made. It's certainly his right to do it, and he just doesn't want to do it. He's turned down tremendous amounts of money. Just doesn't want to do it. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
He's had a policy, and he's kept consistent at it for 7 years. And he just doesn't talk to writers, broadcasters.
He doesn't change it. That's the way he wants to do it. It's his right. It is his business. And in fact, I've been reading about how arrogant the Phillies have been. I must say, to a man, they've been great. Anything we've asked, they've been there. You just wonder if sometimes it isn't a personal thing. Otis trying to set his pace. Carlton says, I'll set my pace. And here we go, 2-2 pitch. Fouled off again. There's that 55-footer, same one he threw the other night.
I found it interesting, Joe. You can play around with numbers so far through the 5 games. There's the breaking ball. Maybe he overthrew it. Trying for the strikeout. Like a curveball rather than a slider.
Many times you try and overthrow a breaking ball, make it too good instead of just letting it do what it's supposed to do, and you end up throwing it right in the dirt. It's been such an effective pitch, that slider for him, and he uses it an awful lot to right-hand hitters. It'll be interesting here to see if he uses the slider or the fastball.
Something off it.
Foul tip.
Started to say about numbers, the Kansas City Royals ball club is supposed to be the team that pecks away at you and keeps the ball in play. They have struck out 40 times through the first 5 games. That's an average of 8 strikeouts a game. The Phillies, on the other hand, presumably a more power ball club, but they've struck out just 14 times through the first 5 games. So it might give you an indication of the differences in pitching staffs in the 2 leagues. Yes, there are more power pitchers. I think this might prove in the National League than the American League. More hard throwers.
We've got a cat and mouse game going on between Otis and Carlton. Ball forward, drew the base on balls. So Otis is on. I tell you, get the feeling that was the Amos Otis hour. The foul tips, and foul balls, and backing out. First base runner for the Kansas City Royals. Here's Willie Aikens.
And I got to believe that Jim Fry, having his club coming into this away town in this critical situation, has got to stir his team up. Even though Carlton has a good move, I got to believe he's going to try and run somebody, because around that batting cage today, they were a very somber group. They know what they're up against here, winning 2 in Philadelphia. And even with Aikens up, I wouldn't doubt one bit. And with Carlton's great move, they try and start somebody.
Holding. Ball 1.
Carlton set a major league record for balks with 11 a year or so ago. Very tricky move.
There it is. He's back. Otis is checking with Wendelstedt. We have an American League umpire back there now, so we got that. Is it a balk or not a balk? Otis is talking to his first base coach. How about it, Ronnie? Has he got an edge tonight, Ron Luciano? We didn't hear you, Ron.
I said it's awful close to a balk, that first one. It has to come directly towards the base, and that looked like it went almost towards home. And so that's what Otis went over and talked to Harry Winnisett about. He said, hey, boy, that's awful close to being a balk. Watch that.
Ronnie, what Jose Martinez was talking about in the first game he pitched, he's the first base coach, Martinez, that Carlton would stop his motion. When he picked his right leg off the ground, he would stop and try and freeze the runner. And then he would go homer first.
There's the strike. 2 balls and 1 strike. Wendelstedt at first base really bearing down on Carlton. He is the umpire. Oh, that was close. He was leaning, jumping around, and Carlton about had him.
Well, you heard Ron say he's opposed. The rule says step directly toward the plate or directly toward the bag, but pitchers bend the rules. Watch where he steps. They pick a spot halfway between home plate and first base, and then they continue walking to deceive the umpire and the base stealer.
Ron Luciano, how can they get away from that? Weren't you guys talking about putting a line on the mound at one time?
2 years ago, they put a line in there, but it worked too well. It was too easy to call. They wanted the controversy, and so they took the line out.
Well, they got it. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Curveball misses. That really didn't snap off. That just seemed to roll and hang. 3 balls, 2 strikes. Now we'll find out if Jim Fry's running his ball club. Akins is a strikeout man. Otis can run, so it could be a strike him out, throw him out. I would think he'd be running. There he goes. Ball 4. So Otis is on his second, and Boone doesn't believe it. Now they're going to ask the umpire at third.
Boone has the appeal down to the third base umpire, Paul Pryor, who waved the safe sign. Boone wasn't sure. He didn't get a very quick call, so he kind of took the glove out, the ball out of the glove. Watch the motion of Boone, Joe.
Yeah, but we didn't really have a rhubarb if he calls it ball 4, and then the umpire third calls it a strike. He did a double take right there because he heard ball 4, but still didn't believe it. 1 man out. Otis at second, Akins. Curveball blocked nicely by Bob Boone as John Waltham takes it for ball 1. Time is called. Nice play by Boone again. Double play ball. Boa, 1. Cinch, 2. 6-4-3. That ends the inning. And so we go into the bottom half of the second inning. It's Kansas City nothing. Philadelphia nothing. And these fans are really fired up as Steve Carlton goes walking off. A 0-0 ball game here in the second inning. Game number 6.
There are 6 or 7 times in a ball game when a pitcher has to make a pitch to stop a rally or keep the other team from scoring. Here's the first one for Carlton. He makes the pitch on Watson. The double play, 6-4-3, and the Phillies are out of the inning.
Here is Greg Luzinski to lead it off here in the second inning. Luzinski's been to bat 5 times looking for his first hit. Takes the pitch outside, and it's ball 1. Out of play, 1-1.
Luzinski said that between at-bats, when he's DHing, he'll go up in the runway, run up and down the hall. He'll swing a bat with a leaded weight on it. He'll watch the TV screen in there and try and pick up pitches and patterns to other right-handed hitters.
2 strikes, 1 ball, no outs, nobody on. Rich Gale. Out of play. Breaking ball just misses outside. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Outside, full count, 3-2 now. The on-deck batter is Gary Maddox, followed by Manny Trio. There's the on-deck man, Gary Maddox. He's been a first ball hitter throughout this season. Foul back by Luzinski. Had a good cut.
That's the Bulls' pitch. A fastball down, a little bit inside part of the plate. And you can see his disgust when he missed it. He was on it, so apparently Gale's ball, like Carlton's, is pretty lively. Right there. The Bull may have been a little bit late, but that is his zone.
Struck him out. Luzinski out on strikes. 1 out in the bottom half of the second inning.
One of the good things that can happen to a pitcher when you run to a 3-2 count, the hitter knows what's coming. Sometimes the hitter will swing in a bad pitch. And there's a case Luzinski knew was fastball. It was out of the strike zone, but he still went after it.
Didn't get it, strike one. It's usually the high fastball because that ball really looks big. Low ball, you really only see the top half of the ball. High pitch, you see it all. Miss it all, too. That's in the gap in right center field. It'll be extra bases for Maddox. Otis cuts it off. It's a stand-up double for Maddox.
They were shading him a little bit toward right center field. A breaking ball, almost a perfect pitch. Down low and away. Slider curveball. Otis right here by getting to this ball in a hurry may have prevented a triple. Boy, this is with that speed, how important it is, not just on the bases, but defensively. Royals have built their team on that speed. Look at Frank White. He is up throwing on the relay.
Maddox is on at second. That's his 4th base hit of the series, his 2nd double. There's one man out. Here is Manny Trio, who was 5 for 19. Right field. Cardinal back, tagging up is Maddox at second base. He's going to go to third. He'll make it easily. Two outs, and it brings up Larry Boa.
Good bunter, as we've said before throughout this series, and so Brett and Aikens at first will have to watch the bunt because Bo will try anything he can to score this run.
Bo is 8 for 20. He has driven in 2 runs. That's a 400 average. Bo is hitting 400. Boone's hitting 400. Last 3 men in the Kansas City lineup are no average, and 95. Makes a difference. Wilson really shallow in left field. Fastball is outside, ball 1. Look at that defense near the line. Otis is way over. If Boa hits a line drive over the pitcher's head, he may run for about maybe 8 or 9 days.
Or in that right field corner if he pulls the ball.
Down the left field line. It is 1 ball and 1 strike. Here's where the responsibility really goes on the pitcher. If you expect him to hit that way, you better pitch him that way.
I was thinking the same thing, Joe. If he throws a curveball
or a changeup
here and gives him something to pull, that pitching coach will come out of that dugout so fast and make your head turn.
If the catcher hasn't turned it already with a bat. Popped up. Foul territory. Wathan coming back. Has room. He makes the catch in front of the dugout. So Boa is out, fouls out to the catcher at the end of 2 complete innings of score here. Kansas City nothing, Philadelphia nothing. And in the 3rd inning for the Kansas City Royals, it will be Jose Cardinal, Frank White, and Willie Wilson. And we'll be back after these messages from your local station. Jose Cardinal will lead it off here in the 3rd inning. Cardinal has been to bat 6 times, looking for his first base hit. He's a free swinger. Breaking ball misses. Check the ball, says Cardinal. It hit the dirt. And it's ball 1. Well hit. Left field. Lonnie Smith is back. He has room. 1 out.
Tom, from what we've seen so far, it still does not appear, and it's early, that Carlton has found his curveball. He's bounced his curveball quite a bit. He's got his fastball going for him, I think. He's got the fastball low in the strike zone.
I think he came out, Tony, he came out and threw 10 fastballs in a row. In the 2nd inning, he started to throw his breaking ball, slider, curveball, tried to establish to get that over. Came out through 10 fastballs in a row, struck the first 2 hitters out, and then started throwing breaking balls. And throwing extremely hard, too.
White doesn't get a strike 1. White in the bat 21 times, 2 base hits. Read in the paper his mother didn't come to Philadelphia. She's home watching because she doesn't like to fly airplanes. So she's watching Frank, who grew up in the shadows of the old ballpark in Kansas City. 1 ball, 1 strike.
She's watching Frank like we all are. All baseball fans put on quite a show with his glove.
Oh, brother.
Tom, let me get back again to that fastball. And as you said, he started out and established the fastball. That curve is more of a field pitch, isn't it?
The curveball is a field pitch that you have to establish, and that's Carlton's bread and butter pitch right there, that slider. It looks like it's going to be away outside of the right hander, and all of a sudden breaks down and in on his knees.
Popped out of play. 2 balls and 2 strikes to count on Frank White.
If he can get that slider over, with as hard as he's throwing his fastball tonight, it could be a long inning for Kansas City. Because this man, we look at Willie Wilson, Carlton can be as tough as any pitcher in baseball. It's going to be the Cy Young Award winner of the National League, in my opinion.
Out on strikes. That is the 3rd strikeout for Carlton. For example, we thought there was big inflation. We were wrong as we look at this replay. It's a curveball, and White is completely fooled on it. That mud does not cost $100 a can. In 1938, it cost $10, only costs $15 right now, if you can buy it. Here's Willie Wilson. Wilson has had a tough series in the batter's box, but he's played well in the field. Strike 2. He has struck out 10 times. Record for a 6-game series was 9 strikeouts by Jim Bottomley in 1930. Should this series ends, Willie Wilson would have the dubious distinction. He is out on strikes. 7-game series. It's 11 strikeouts, so if it goes 7 games, he's got it tied right now. So that ends the 3rd inning. We go to the bottom half of the 3rd inning. There is no score here. Kansas City nothing, Philadelphia nothing. And for the Phillies, Bob Boone, Smith, and Rose. Joe Garagiola with Tony Kubek and Tom Seaver here in Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia. Nothing, bottom of the 3rd. Bob Boone will lead it off. And Boone has been to bat 15 times, has 6 hits. He's walked 3 times, has 2 doubles, hitting at .400. Bob Boone.
Did you see his father, Ray, out here very early today, what he was doing? Playing, Ray, of course, the former major leaguer, playing Pepper with his grandchildren, Aaron and Brett.
Man, I can't wait
Pete
to do
Rose
that
also.
myself.
That's coming up pretty quickly, isn't it?
I can't wait, I'll tell you that. He was really thrilled, Ray Boone, former major leaguer. There's a good fastball. Talking about Carlton throwing hard, Gale is throwing hard, and it's ball 1. And it's ball 2. Wathan behind the plate doesn't agree. Ball 3. You can usually talk to the umpires as long as you keep looking towards the outfield and not turn around and show them up. Ball 4. Hey, Ron Luciano, when catchers would turn around, you're one of the few guys that let them turn around and talk to you. You just wanted to visit, huh?
I'd let anybody talk to me. Nah, you don't let them turn around on you. That's a cardinal sin. They can call you any name under the sun as long as they're looking out towards center field, because only you and he know what he's talking or who he's talking about. But as soon as he turns around, that's an automatic ejection. Good night. See you tomorrow.
If he turns around, he's embarrassing the umpire, and that's one thing they cannot stand. They have to show their authority, and they do. Here's Lonnie Smith. Frank White has it. He goes to UL Washington, gets the 4. Safe! Now out of, I don't know what he's doing. Time. He calls safe and then time. Bill Kunkel. Here comes Jim Fry.
Well, Frank White had one thing in mind. Get the lead runner. UL Washington cheated. He was off the bag. The second base umpire, Bill Kunkel, said, yes, you did cheat too much, and I'm going to call him safe. Watch it. A different angle. I'll tell you, he's off that bag by a little bit more than a couple of inches, probably a foot and a half or so, and it cost him. Washington was trying to get out of the way of the hard-sliding Boone, and by trying to do, he wasn't trying to get a throw-off. By trying to do so, he cheated too much. I think Kunkel made the right call.
Bill Kunkel had his right hand up. Look, maybe he called him out, but he was calling time. And so we've got base runners at first and second. I really couldn't tell on that play, Tony, to tell you the truth. So it looked like he was just in the neighborhood. Here's another look at it. Let's see.
This left center field camera should be the excellent angle.
Oh, he was safe. His foot was off, yeah.
You know, you get away with a little bit of that, and many times umpires will give you that call, but that one was a little too obvious.
Surprisingly, the call is safe. The old in-the-neighborhood play fails to impress umpire Bill Kunkel. The Phillies have 2 on with no outs. A throwing error is charged to Frank White, and the KC skipper is flying.
Come on, Bill! What's going on, Bill? Pull him off. Ah, the ball didn't pull him off nothing. Come on, Bill! What's going on, for crying out loud? It's just the first play. He's not doing anything, for crying out loud. How can you call a play like that? How can you call a play like that, Bill? Come on, Bill. How can you do that? There was no play. Come on, Bill. You don't see that twice a year, Bill. Put the ball right here. Come on, for crying out loud.
The futility of Fry's mission becomes apparent, and the manager addresses himself to an ally.
He's going to bunt for sure. We'll have to play with 2 charges.
Here it is again, Tommy.
I don't understand how they can give an error to the shortstop on the ball, first of all.
Well, I don't
Tony?
think... You think he was drawn off by the throw?
It looks like he was drawn off by the throw, definitely. There's no play at first base. There's no way you're going to double up Monty Smith.
Right. What Washington's got to do then, if he's drawn off, because he's got plenty of time, is get the ball first and then come back and tag the bag. You've got to get 1 out.
So there is nobody out. Base runners at first and second. The infield looking for the bunt at first and third. Pete Rose, the batter. He had a base hit his first time up. There's no score in the third. They've got the play on, and Rose takes it high. And what I mean by the play is the shortstop goes to third. Tony, you've worked that play.
Well, ordinarily, first and second, what you'll do is the third baseman will come in and make sure the hitter commits himself. The shortstop will go to second. Second baseman to first. First baseman charges. This particular play, they have Washington. Here he comes. Going to third. White going to second. Well, one of the reasons they'll do that is because they've got a slower runner at second base. You try it on a fast runner, and he's going to beat the shortstop there, and you're in big trouble.
There they go again. The pitch is low. One thing you have to do is make them bunt the ball, and now Wathan wants to talk to Gale. Boone, a good base runner, although he may be slow, is not getting in no man's land, so he get picked off like UL Washington as Billy Connors comes out to the mound to talk to the young pitcher.
Tom, they must have heard you because they have changed the official scorer's decision to E4. Frank White for pulling UL Washington off the bag. Now Green is having a conference with a home plate umpire as Green talking to Bremigan. Here's Akins coming in from first base. Nobody is covering first base on this particular play. They may change. There's Dallas Green may change too. I don't know what he's talking about. If someone is getting in the way of one of his base runners, he may be saying that UL Washington is getting in the way of Boone. We'll find out.
Well, Harry Wendelstedt, they're going to go over and talk to Dallas Green now. I don't know if it's an American League or National League or whatever. Bremigan's from the American League. He brought in Wendelstedt. Ronnie, Luciano, you got any idea what's going on?
Well, I know there's a rule in the American League that you only can have 1 infielder and a coach on the mound at the same time. That time they had 2 infielders on, and what I think Green is saying is, hey, is this legal? Can I get a balk out of it or eject the pitcher or something like that?
You got to be kidding.
No,
in the World Series, they're going to go to that?
You're only allowed the catcher, 1 infielder, and the manager on the mound.
That's the American League, one of the National League.
But they're playing under that rule today.
That's like blaming the Johnstown flood on a leaky faucet, for crying out loud. Here's the pitch to Rose. It's a foul ball out of play.
And Boone was running off second base that time. They had, well, almost the whole field open. Brett and Akins charging. Both short and second base were wide open.
Tony, it was much more serious than that. They wanted to know if Fry spoke to his pitcher, which would count as a trip to the plate. So, Luciano, you were pretty close. World Series. Let's make that mountain out of the molehill. High. 3-1.
Let me I'll tell you what might happen to Gale. He's had a streak of control problems there, obviously, but with all the things going on behind him, he, I believe, is so distracted that if they do bunt to me, where in the world do I throw the ball? If Pete bunts it, do I go to third? Is somebody going to be there? Is anybody going to be on first? I believe these plays could really goof a guy up.
Trick plays will kill you. All he can do is signal for a fair catch, for crying out loud.
Rattle Gale.
3-1 pitch. Bunt it down to third base. It's going to be a hit. Rose is charging hard. Brett safe.
Kansas City's defense outfoxed itself. They put a little more pressure on the kid pitcher Gale than ought to have been. Rose does make a perfect bunt. Gale froze on the mound. Here comes Brett. Rose beats it out.
Tony, I can't help but the concentration on Rose's eyes on that last replay. He was going to make sure he bunted the ball on the ground, and as you say, they just thought themselves into a base hit, the Kansas City defense.
Gale made a mental mistake in game number 2. As you remember, Tony, the ball hit back to him with the bases loaded. He didn't go home. He went to first base. Here again, he's made a mental mistake on that bunt play. The pitcher's job on this play is to break right toward the third baseline. You don't go toward home plate. That's the pitcher's ball right there. That is not George Brett's responsibility. The pitcher should make that play.
Well, Kansas City has already given Philadelphia 2 outs this inning.
And there are nobody out. Bases are loaded, and Mike Schmidt, their big man in the batter's box. A little bunt does it again. All right, ball 1. A walk to Boone. An error by White. A bunt by Rose. And Gale faces the bases loaded with Mike Schmidt, the batter. Nobody out. Out of play. Pete Rose, who had only 4 sacrifice bunts all year, and what a classic bunt that was. Got that bat out in front, much like the instructions. Catch the ball on the bat, and anyone can bunt. And Rose ends up with a base hit. Sheer hustle after he got his job done, which was bunting the ball towards third. Base hit, right field. Here comes 1 run in. Smith is going to score. Heading for third is Rose. Smith stumbles, and now he finally comes across. He was late coming around. He fell again, and it's a 2-0 ball game.
Fastball out over the plate. A little bit down. Schmidt really rifles it. He continues to have an excellent series with the glove and the bat. Now has 7 runs batted in for the series. Cardinal with a weak throw in, and Rose keeps on going to third. Schmidt is going to go because Aikens is in a cutoff position between home plate and his right fielder. Schmidt had thoughts of going, and look at that reaction. He's had a big series thus far. Jim Fry out now. Rennie Martin will come in. Philadelphia Phillies looking for their first World's Championship as Martin comes on and Gale leads.
So we have a break in the action. The Phillies have taken a 2-0 lead here. We'll be right back after these messages.
With Boone at second and Smith at first, Fry has put his infielders in motion to combat a sacrifice bunt. Pete Rose is the man in the middle of all this as the game assumes the look of strategic warfare. Will Rose bunt or not? With Brett charging, Rose fakes and takes a ball, and with the count 3-1, Fry sends his infielders back. Noticing the change in defensive strategy, Rose lays down a gorgeous bunt, and George Brett is playing too deep to make the play. Without a ball hit out of the infield, the Phillies have loaded the bases with nobody out. Score it a hit for Rose and give the round to Philadelphia. Mike Schmidt, the batter. The Phillies go up 2-0 thanks to the clutch swinging Schmidt.
So we're having all kinds of changes here. That is a brand new base at third base. Paul Pryor, the umpire, went in, got the groundskeeper. You see Brett working on it. He's getting used to it. Pete Rose is the base runner. Mike Schmidt's at first. These Philly fans kept wondering when their Phillies would fall behind to win. Well, they've taken the lead. It's only the second time in this series that they've done that. Mike Schmidt gave them a 2-run homer in Kansas City to give them a lead. Right now, they're leading 2-0. Nobody out. Schmidt is at first. Rose is at third. Bake McBride, who lined to left, is the batter. Ball one.
I think an oddity in this series also is the fact that Kansas City's manager, Jim Fry, as we look at the stats of Rennie Martin, he has only used 5 pitchers. The Phillies have used 10.
Martin in relief of Gale. And it's low. 2 balls, no strikes. There you see Rose at third, Schmidt at first. Mike Schmidt coming on strong, had a tough playoff series, had a tough start, but he's now 8 for 19 with 7 runs batted in. Popped up. Frank White at second base, drifting over. In foul territory, makes the catch. Rose holds. White runs it back. 1 out. Brings up Greg Luzinski with Gary Maddox on deck. Schmidt at first, Rose is at third.
Rennie Martin, a guy on the mound now who is trained in the minor leagues to be a relief pitcher, and is awfully tough to come in and relief when your best pitch is your curveball, because as you mentioned earlier, Tom, it is more of a field pitch than the fastball.
Hot smash to Brett. He looked to see if he could get Schmidt. Couldn't, so just held on to it. So there are 2 outs, and here is Maddox.
Looking right at the ball. Didn't hit it real hard. In fact, may have broken the bat. It sounded like it shattered, but Brett comes up throwing. He looked to third first. Rose was close, and he couldn't get Schmidt.
Maddox double into right center field, his first time up. There goes Mike Schmidt. Ball is hit deep in the right center field. Cardinal is back, should make the play. He does. So Rennie Martin comes in, puts out the fire, but the Phillies take the lead. At the end of 3, it is Philadelphia 2, Kansas City nothing. Martin walking off after a job well done. 2 up for Kansas City, UL Washington, George Brett, and Hal McRae. 2 runs, 4 hits, and no errors for the Phillies. No runs, no hits, 1 error for Kansas City. Scoring 1 earned run, 1 unearned, and the 2 the Phillies scored in the 3rd. Here is UL Washington, who was out on strikes his first time up. In the hole, Boa has it. He's going to try it. He'll not get him. It's a base hit for Washington. That's the first hit for the Kansas City Royals.
I'll tell you what, that little guy at shortstop, and we've raved about how consistent he's been through 11 or 12 years. He did not make this play, but to get to it was something in itself. Look at this. It is much more difficult to stop an artificial surface. On dirt and grass, you can slide that foot and come to a more abrupt stop. You try an artificial surface, your feet go out. He made a nice play just getting to it.
Tony also tied a World Series record by starting his 6th double play this series. Rizzuto in 1951 had 6. Brett fouls it off. Bouncing ball. This could be 2. There's 1. There's 2. Record.
So Larry Boa on this double play will go down in the record books. 7 double plays, breaking the record held by Rizzuto, set in 51. Started his 7th double play. And you know, when you look at scouting reports, this is from our left center field camera. He didn't waste a throw. He took it himself. Why mess up an extra flip? But
also
Carlton,
interesting, Tony, when he threw the ball, how he got UL out of there when he submarined it. Ball one on McRae.
Bo has done everything that has been asked of him in this series. Getting on base, making all the plays. He's had an outstanding series to this point.
Gray to Boa. So the Kansas City Royals go down. We go to the bottom half of the fourth inning. The score here, the Philadelphia Phillies 2, Kansas City nothing, as Boa puts on quite a show. And due up for the Philadelphia Phillies, Manny Trio, the man of the hour Boa, and Bob Boone. Manny Trio will lead it off as we get an overhead shot of Veterans Stadium, a jam-packed Veterans Stadium. These fans, I tell you, this whole town, really, they're waiting. It is a high fly ball. Coming in Wilson, going out Washington. Who's going to get it? Wilson finally makes it. That was a routine play, and nobody apparently hollered till the last minute, Tony.
Well, when you realize where Willie Wilson came from left field, right now Wilson knows that his infielders are in trouble. Amos Otis was playing a very deep center field. Frank White gave ground to UL Washington to cover second base. There goes Frankie, and then UL, for some reason, gave up on it. He looked toward Otis, and Otis wasn't there.
I know it's not the same kind of a play, but the thinking was the same when Billy Martin made the catch. It almost sent him to the Hall of Fame. It was a pop line to infield in reality, and nobody wanted to catch it. There's a strike. Larry Boa.
Joe, the Kansas City Ball Club is playing the same kind of baseball they played for almost a month and a half. When they got that big lead, they didn't play consistent 9 innings for the last month and a half.
2 outs. Brett to Aikens, gets Boa.
Brett's got to get his bat going, as does McRae, to get this Kansas City Ball Club back in this game. With Carlton going the way he's been going, I got to believe that he's going to get stronger, at least through the middle innings, Tom. If, as you say, he may weaken later on, but I got to believe the middle innings, he's in a groove now with the breaking stuff and the fastball.
Here's Bob Boone, who scored 1 run. He threw a base on balls back in the 3rd inning, and it's ball 1. Boone walked. Smith was safe when the throw pulled UL Washington off the bag. Rose beat out a bunt, and Schmidt singled in 2 runs. 2 balls, no strikes. Bob Boone. There's his dad, former major leaguer Ray Boone. His mom. 2-0, Phillies lead. Boone takes it high, 3-0. The on-deck batter is Smith, Lonnie Smith. Rennie Martin in relief of Gale.
Bob's father, Ray. There is Smith on deck. Ray was one of the toughest RBI men I've ever seen.
Gave him the green light. High fly ball down the line in right field. Cardinal coming on hard. He makes the catch, so Boone flies out. That ends the 4th inning. At the end of 4, the score here is Philadelphia 2, Kansas City nothing. I talked about Billy Martin. We're going to flash back with Mal Allen. You tell me if it was a tough play. It was a fly ball. Here it is again. Jog your memory.
The Yankees are leading by a score of 4-2. Billy Martin tenths at second. 2 out. The Dodgers with the bases loaded. Jackie Robinson hits a high pop-up into the tricky winds of Ebbets Field. Martin makes a game-saving catch, and the Yankees win the series.
Joe Garagiola, Tom Seaver, Tony Kubek, our statistician Steve Dans back here in Veterans Stadium. Game number 6 of the 1980 World Series. Jim Fry, the manager of Kansas City, he finds his team down by 2 runs in the top of the 5th. Steve Carlton on the mound will face Otis, Aikens, and Wathen. There's Herb Starrett, Dallas Green, the manager, right behind him. Carlton has allowed just 1 base hit, an infield single by Washington. He has struck out 4 and walked 2 through 4. Otis has walked. 1 strike. Otis needs 1 base hit. He's 1 short of tying a record for a 6-game series. Joe mentioned earlier, Billy Martin, 53 Yankees, had 12 base hits. So Otis has had an excellent series thus far. Phil's 2, Kansas City nothing. We're in the 5th. fastball. Carlton way ahead. 2 strikes the count of Otis.
Here's a good example of what the high fastball out of the strike zone will do to a hitter, especially when you have the kind of pop that Carlton has. Puts him right in the driver's seat. No balls and 2 strikes. A lot of things a pitcher can do in this situation. You set up a pitch, go right after him, especially when you're throwing as well as Carlton is throwing.
I've got to believe, and a factor that you mentioned earlier, Tom, that he has pitched over 350 innings since spring training began, that he's not going to try and waste too many. I got to believe he wants to complete this game, Carlton, and go after every hitter and use a minimum number of pitches. He goes outside, but just missed. 1 ball, 2 strikes. He's got a Kansas City Royals blue baseball cap on, but I got to believe that young man was a Phillies fan. Steve Carlton. He blew it by him. Strikeout number 5 for Carlton. A good, lively fastball.
Game number 2 that Carlton started, he had 10 strikeouts. Into the 5th inning now, he already has 5. And that one on just pure heat. He threw the ball right by Amos Otis.
Well, during the regular season, Carlton pitched 304 innings. He had 286 strikeouts, the most in the major leagues. Nolan Ryan of Houston just got to the 200 mark. Willie Mays Aikens, who's had some kind of series, a couple of home runs in 1 game, his first major league triple, a game-winning RBI, then 2 more home runs. He is beginning to throw a little bit harder. You can almost hear the ball crackling into Boone's glove. 1 ball, no strike. 1 out. Breaking pitch. 1 strike. 1-1. Three balls, 1 strike.
Another good play by Bob Boone behind the plate, especially off of Carlton. You're going to get a lot of sliders that are going to break down into the dirt. That's his out pitch. Bob Boone, the Golden Glove catcher of the National League.
You can see he is the only catcher in the major leagues who wears that old-style mask. Paul Pryor, the umpire, on the bases today, the only umpire, popped up. Back of home plate should go out of play. It does. 3-2.
You also notice that that hat just fits right in that mask, and it's the plastic cap. It's made just for catching. You don't wear it when you're hitting. Booney's got as much protection for his head that he can get. It's just that that little flap is in there, much like you see on the umpire hanging down there. I always wanted that, never got it. I wanted to put steel plates in the toes of my shoes. It wasn't going to hurt my speed. I ran like Luciano. I wanted shoes like him.
3 balls, 2 strikes, 1 out. Phillies lead 2-0. Aikens, did he get him? He did. He really broke off a hard slider on a 3-2 count. That'll show you the confidence that Carlton has in that slider when he's going right with it, Tom.
Well, we talked about it before, Tony. It's his money pitch. And the second time tonight, he's gotten to 3-2, and he's gone with it. He gets behind you throw his slider. He's got tremendous control with it. He knows he can get it in the strike zone. Aikens, a fastball hitter, probably sitting on the fastball. There's Jim Fry in the Royal dugout. And Carlton simply throws the slider for a 6th strikeout.
John Wathen, he grounded into a double play in the 2nd. Carlton now has 6 strikeouts. Base hit up the middle by Wathen. 2nd base hit of the ball game for the Royals. Washington has the other. So Wathen's on, and Jose Cardinal will step in. We've talked a little bit about that conditioning program that Carlton goes through. He has been a weightlifter since he was 14 years of age. He had gotten into the martial arts, karate. Now he's gotten into kung fu. And it's difficult to explain the routine he goes through with Gus Heffling, who also worked for the Philadelphia Eagles. He says he wants to make it a way of life after baseball. Do it every day, all year long. Carlton, first pitch to Cardinal, 1 ball, no strike. Wathen off and running. Wathen will surprise you because he stole 17 bases during the regular season, was caught just 3 times. So he thought he caught Carlton by surprise and had an excellent jump, and it was fouled off.
You'll get a look at the jump that Wathen gets. 2, 3, 4, 5 steps he had before Carlton threw the ball. That was a good jump.
And still see Larry Boa, game number 1 off Leonard. Down by 4. He surprised everybody. May have set up the whole inning. Cardinal pops it up. Short right field, trio back. He will take it himself as he waves McBride off from right field. So Wathen is stranded at first base. We're in the middle of the fifth here at Veterans Stadium, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, with the score. The Phillies 2, the Kansas City Royals nothing. Due up for the Phillies, the leadoff hitter, Lonnie Smith, and Pete Rose, and Mike Schmidt.
For those of you who may be tuning in late, we welcome you to Veterans Stadium, Philadelphia, Game 6 of the World Series. We've reached the halfway point. Through 4.5, Phillies out in front of the Royals 2-0. And frankly, so far, the Phillies have played like champions and the Royals have not. Steve Carlton cruising along, struck out 6, allowed only 2 hits. The Phillies have turned 2 double plays behind him. By contrast, the Royals have had their problems. By allowing 5 outs in the 3rd innings, they allowed 2 Philly runs with a phantom force at second and a Rich Gale misplay of a bunt. Here at the Veterans Stadium, there seems to be a feeling of comfort among the Philly fans as they watch this ball game, that their team is very much in control. And frankly, the Royals have done nothing to threaten that comfort. Only Rennie Martin has been a bright spot for Kansas City as he prepares to face Smith, Rose, and Schmidt. Tony, he's retired 6 in a row.
Thank you, Brian. To tell you exactly how those 2 runs were scored, Gale got himself in trouble to start off the inning, the 3rd, when he walked Boone. Then Smith, the ball hit to Frank White. He threw to Al Washington. White was charged with the air. Rose, a bunt single down the 3rd baseline. Rennie Martin throws the first pitch over the head of Lonnie Smith. 1 ball, no strikes. If it was a knockdown or brushback, it was a very weak one.
That'll be a little bit of humor among the players because you don't knock down players with a breaking ball, Tony.
Fouled off by Smith. 1 ball, 1 strike.
You notice that Martin looked over at George Brett, I guess, to symbolize something about the knockdown, but it was a curveball, so it certainly was unintentional. Nobody upset about that at all.
In that 3rd inning, Schmidt, with a single to right field, drove home both Philadelphia runs. Curveball missed inside. 2 balls, 1 strike to Lonnie Smith. 2-0. Phillies over Kansas City in the bottom of the 5th. Peel played out to the first base umpire Harry Wendelstad. He gives the safe sign, so the count will go 3-2.
Looks like a breaking ball in the outside corner. Martin has an outstanding curveball, a very good slider to go along with it. 3-2.
Could be a base hit. It is, and this is a bad man to have on if you're a Kansas City fan. Smith's going to keep on going. The throw in from Amos Otis, and Lonnie Smith showed that speed close to Willie Wilson. He took a single and made it into a double, and here the fans are stirred up again.
He sent it right back up the middle. It looked like a pretty good pitch. He didn't hesitate as he got to first base. Bot stumbled again, but it's an easy 2-base hit for him.
Otis was playing Smith, shading him slightly toward right center field, and as soon as Smith hit the ball, he knew he had 2. He made that double from home plate to first base.
You think it was an answer of McRae doing that to Maddox the first time and McBride the second, as if to say we can do it too?
Well, you can't underestimate the speed of this Phillies ball club. With Smith on second, Rose will try and pull the ball. Phillies lead 2-0. 1 ball to Rose. Brennan tied at 3rd base. So is Akins at first. There's your score. Brett, the 3rd baseman. Royals bullpen starts going once again. Too low. Nice stop by Waffle. Rose goes 2 balls and no strikes on Rennie Martin. That's Smith, lower left-hand corner of the screen. Pete single to left, check swing in the 1st. Given a single on the bunt down to 3rd base. Paul Splitarf, the left-hander warming up. Marty Patton, the right-hander. The big question is, Splitarf, the 3rd best pitcher on the staff, where has he been? Two balls, 1 strike on Pete Rose. He hits it to left center field. Amos Otis back, but Lonnie Smith will tag and try for 3rd. Here he comes with that great speed. So Rose didn't pull the ball, but Lonnie Smith's great speed. Otis got the ball in quickly, but he made it to 3rd base. The man coming up right now with 7 RBIs in this series is Mike Schmidt.
Rose's job in that situation to get the runner at 3rd, so Mike Schmidt will be up with that runner on 3rd with 1 out. Of course, Pete, the consummate professional, you get it done any way you can, and Pete seems to be able to do it.
A lot of ball clubs up until the 6th inning will pretty much let you hit straight away, making it an option. And knowing Pete Rose, you know he tried to pull that ball, but Rennie did a good job of keeping that ball outside. So Pete said, I'll just try to get the base hit the fly ball, and picked up the base. And that pulls the infield in. That's tough with this fella hitting.
Rennie Martin will pitch from the stretch with Lonnie Schmidt at third. 1 ball to Mike Schmidt. Schmidt with a single to right field. There's Lee Elia flashing a series of signs to Schmidt. And believe me, he's not giving him the bunt sign. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Schmidt. Nice stop by John Walker. He just saved a run.
Beautiful play. He got that body in front of it. Your job is not to catch it. Your job is to block it. And that curveball from the right-hander, when it hits the ground, will break towards his left shoulder. Watch it reverse. And that's why you have to get right at the edge. And it takes a little bit of guts to do that. And it takes practice because you think the ball's scooting by you. But it breaks back towards you. And he really blocked that ball nicely. Nice play. Boone has been doing it the entire series. And now Wathan comes up with a great play.
3 balls, 2 strikes, 1 out. Phillies lead 2-0. Schmidt at bat. Way outside, Walker. While we have a chance, we're going to pause briefly for station identification. This is the NBC Television Network. Joe Garagiola, Tony Kubek, Tom Seaver. There's your score. Phillies 2, Royals nothing. Phillies have runners at first and third with 1 out. Paul Splittorff, with McBride coming up to bat, will replace Rennie Martin, the third pitcher used by the Kansas City Royals. So there's a break here at Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia. The score, the Phillies 2, the Royals nothing. First and third for the Phillies. McBride facing Splittorff, his first appearance in this World Series. Fouled out of play by McBride. 1 strike. There's 1 out. Splittorff behind Leonard Gura had the most innings pitched on this ball club, and yet he wasn't used until this point. There are your runners. Smith at third, Schmidt at first. 1 strike on McBride. Missed outside, 1-1. I guess you come into World Series, Tom, you've got to have some kind of master plan, if that's the proper terminology, for your pitching through a series. But you go into a series like this, and you're afraid to pitch or start your third best pitcher. I'm not so sure that's a wise thing to do, but that's what's happened. He blew it by McBride up tight. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
And you know, Tony, Splittorff was pitched extremely well coming down the stretch. At the All-Star break, he was 5-6. Had some back problems during the season, but he ended up 14-11. His innings pitch and hit ratio was not good, but he was a very good pitcher for this ball club down the stretch. More than a little bit miffed about not pitching.
Way outside with a breaking pitch. 2 balls, 2 strikes. 1 out. Well, the scouting reports that were turned in said to Jimmy Fry that Philadelphia is a right-handed power-hitting ball club. Take a chance with Gura. He's the style pitcher, might beat them, but they didn't think Splittorff could. And I think you put yourself in the hole when you think that before the series even begins. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 1 out. He broke his bat. They probably will not get 2. Smith scores. They do get a runner at first base as Schmidt goes to second. So McBride gets an RBI as Smith, with that great speed, scores. Phillies lead 3-0. He really sawed him off.
I don't think there's any way in the world you're going to get a double play out of Bake McBride unless it's a line drive that somebody catches in the air. A very tough situation to get out of and not give up a run first and third with McBride running, of course. Washington made a fine play at shortstop. Bake McBride gets down that baseline as good as anybody in the National League.
Now it's the Bull, Greg Lazinski, who was struck out and lined to Brett at third with Schmidt at second base. Breaking ball too low, 1-0.
That's a run actually the Phillies manufactured on great speed by Lonnie Smith. He stretched the double. He went to third on Pete Rose's fly ball and just scores on the ground ball.
1 ball to the Bull with 2 outs. 1 ball, 1 strike. Phillies lead 2-0. We're in the bottom of the 5th. Mike Schmidt at second. He has 2 runs batted in this ballpark. Chopper. The chant of "Let's go Bull." UL Washington throws him out. 6-3 if you're scoring, but the Phillies come up with another run. So the score here after 5 in Philadelphia, the Phillies 3, the Kansas City Royals nothing. Two up for the Royals, number 9 hitter Frank White, then Willie Wilson, and UL Washington.
Back in Philadelphia, I'm Merle Harmon, Ridley Carpenter, the president of the Phillies. Your family has owned this ball club for, well, a lot of years, since 1945. And now we're down to this final week. What's it been like in Philadelphia this week?
Well, it's been a hectic week, Merle. Of course, we spent a good bit of time in Kansas City early on. We're very pleased, and obviously this is the greatest moment that the Phillies franchise has had since my family owned it.
And this franchise has been going 97 years. Back to the booth.
All right, thank you, Mr. Carpenter. Merle, Frank White pops up to Larry Bowa. Man coming up, Willie Wilson, has struck out 11 times in this World Series. It has been written many times about him that he is not carrying his load. He's disappointed it's been said of him.
Yeah, I think it's unfair because we're a team. We're not just one person. Of course, I'm a great part of this team, but I don't feel that I'm the one that's going to make us win or make us lose. I'm the one that's having a part of making us win or lose. And when you have guys like Hal McRae, George Brett, Amos Otis, those guys drive in runs, you can't say I'm not getting on base is going to make us win or lose. It's just unfair pressure put on me.
He is going to be a great ball player. He is already a good defensive player. He just was thrown out by Carlton when he jumped on the first pitch, as Frank White did, bunted back, and Carlton threw him out by about a step. So Carlton has 2 very quick outs in the top of the 6th. Carlton with the 3-0 lead. Through 5 innings, Carlton had struck out 6, walked 2. Now it's UL Washington. Just 2 base hits off Carlton. UL Washington, infield single. Watson a single up the middle. Steve Carlton this year will receive his 3rd Cy Young Award. 1 strike for Washington. And I got to believe Carlton, with innings like this, if he gets out with just 4 or 5 pitches, it's going to help him in the 8th and the 9th. One ball, 2 strikes.
Again, our radar gun down there, Tony, has Carlton about 88, sometimes 89 miles an hour. And again, I don't believe it. I just can't believe it.
That last pitch was a pitch he turned over, though. And with that sinker ball action, it might not be quite as hard as when he throws that riding fastball. Good. Looked like a breaking ball, Tom. To get strikeout number 7. Steve Carlton just getting UL Washington. So in the middle of the 6th, the score, the Phillies 3, Kansas City nothing. It'll be Maddox, Trio, Bowa to face Paul Splittorff. The 3rd Royals pitcher, Gale, started. Martin came in, and now Splittorff. Line drive, base hit on a 3-1 pitch, so Maddox is on with good speed down at first base, and Trio will be the hitter. See now in the 6th inning if Dallas Green will.
Virtually every time the Kansas City Royals have been behind, Tony, through this series, Paul Moskow keeping the charts over here, there's only about 2 times when they've been behind in the count that they've thrown something other than the fastball. There you see Brett trying to get the line drive by Maddox, but Maddox ahead in the count 3-1. He simply got a fastball and ripped it to left field.
Dallas Green has some options. He may try and pad that lead, have Trio bunt. Trio, good bat control, hits the opposite way. Brett is creeping in. Ground ball, should be 2. Splittorff, UL Washington. Over to Akins, and UL that time really made sure he stepped on the bag. They complete the double play, so there are 2 outs, and Bowe will be the hitter.
A good example of the experienced pitcher and the rookie, Rich Gale, the other day, got the ball back to the mound, didn't know where he was going. There's Paul Splittorff, a 34-year-old veteran. He gets the ball, turns right around and fires a strike to second base. UL Washington, of course, turns it into an easy double play for the Royals.
Bowe now will bat from the right side off Splittorff. Chop foul. Bowe starting his 7th double play in this ball game. Broke Phil Rizzuto's record. Drilled in the left field corner. Bowe's going to have extra bases. Willie Wilson to the wall. Wilson into third base with a throw, so Bowe continues to have an excellent World Series with a double off the screen.
Larry Bowe's had an outstanding World Series so far. Coming into today, he was 8 for 20 on a 2-2 count. He got a high breaking ball, and that's a pitch that a good professional hitter won't miss. If you throw it up there in his eyes, he's going to hit it hard somewhere.
Willie Wilson did a good job of getting back there, getting that ball back in there because he was playing very shallow. And you could see that Bo had made up his mind. He was at least going for the double and a possible triple. Wilson plays it well and gets it back in.
So now it'll be Bob Boone stepping in with 2 outs and Bo at second base. Pull the string, base hit. Bo will score. It is now 4-0. RBI for Boone.
Another mistake by Paul Splittorff. Bob Boone kept his hands back. It didn't look like that bad a pitch, though. Tony got the ball down, and Boone was out in front, and of course Larry Boa scored easily.
I don't think he snapped it off, Tom. He seemed to roll that curveball. It was a flat curveball, and the only danger here is Boa hurting somebody one of those high fives. Watch him. The reaction. He is just banging on everybody.
Jimmy Fry, who is going to have to come from behind with his Royals in this ball game if they are to get their first World Championship. And if they win today, they would still have to win tomorrow. Ruthven is scheduled to pitch if we go to Game 7. The fans in this ballpark, and they've got a little ways to go yet as we're only in the 6th, are beginning to smell their first World Championship. With Carlton on the mound, and that is your score. Carlton has pitched a very strong ball game, has allowed just 2 base hits. Steve Carlton looking for his second World Series win in 1980. He won the second ball game. He has a 4-0 lead. Now it's Boone at first. Smith, he's been on base twice. He's the hitter. 1 ball on Lonnie Smith. Fly ball, center field. Amos Otis over to right center. He's got it. So the Phillies will strand a base runner, but Boone with a big RBI single pads the Philadelphia lead after 6, 4-0. But the Royals in the 7th will send up George Brett, then Hal McRae and Amos Otis. We'll be back after these messages from your local station.
Jim Fry says it all as he sits there. Gross is the new left fielder replacing Lonnie Smith for the Philadelphia Phillies. They lead by 4. George Brett, Hal McRae, and Amos Otis. Somebody's got to get something started for these Kansas City Royals because time is running out. And Carlton, 7 strikeouts. He has walked 2. He has allowed 2 hits. Bounces all the way back. And Carlton in 1980 lasted past the 6th inning in 40 of his 41 starts, and this includes postseason play. There's a strike, and the way Carlton has been going, George Brett may be batting for the last time in this game. Carlton is going in to nail it down. Line foul. 1 ball, 2 strikes. 65,838. It's the largest crowd in Vet history. It's the largest World Series crowd since October 11th of 1964. A base hit in the right field, and Brett is on.
I think that hit right there will give you an idea of the kind of hitter Brett is. He had to be protecting the outside part of the plate, looking for a breaking ball, and yet Carlton threw, I think, the pitch he wanted to, Tom, high and tight, and yet he still could get around and drill it through the infield.
He did make a good pitch. Against Carlton, you have to protect an outside corner. You have to protect against that slider, but Brett is quick enough to turn on that ball and hit it in the hole.
Here's Hal McRae. McRae came into this game hitting at 450. Off the handle, a high fly ball, short left field. Boa going out, taking charge, makes the play. One out. Brett and Wendelstedt visiting. as Amos Otis comes to the plate. Otis walked in the second. He struck out in the fifth. Strike one. Good fastball. He's just rearing back and firing now. Strike two. Good fastball.
Carlton's thrown two of his best pitches right out there on the outside corner. You see Brett at first. And now what do you do if you're the hitter? 0-2. He's got a nasty slider. Is he going to go out there or come inside?
High fly ball deep to right field, way back. McBride near the wall makes the catch. A two-strike, no-ball count. Notice made a bid for a home run, but not enough.
Carlton has thrown about 90 pitches so far in the game, and this might be the worst pitch that he's thrown so far. It's the same kind of pitch that Otis hit off of Ruthven the other day in Kansas City for a home run, a fastball up and out over the plate. McBride made a good play going just short of the wall to call it in, but where you have to throw, Otis, is the hard stuff in on the inside part of the plate.
What in the world was our cameraman for that? That was some shot. You saw that ball go right in the glove. Tom, you think the 4-run lead is what made him throw that ball down the middle?
I think it was a mistake, Joe. Made two beautiful pitches and tried to go away. I think he probably wanted to go in.
Aikens, a curveball is a strike. It's one of the dangers you have when you get a little bit of a lead. Pitchers start throwing that ball down the middle. They don't want to walk anyone. Tapped. Carlton will have to make the play. He does. So the Royals go down in the 7th inning. We go to the bottom half of the 7th inning, and the crowd is starting to work themselves up. Bottom of the 7th, it is Philadelphia 4, Kansas City nothing. And due up for the Phillies, it'll be Pete Rose, Mike Schmidt, and Mick McBride. Furnished by Major League Baseball. This could be a World Series record. Most horses before a game ends. That's the mounted police who are here for the after the game should the Phillies wrap it up. We had the privilege of having lunch with the mayor of Philadelphia today in a great little Italian restaurant in South Philadelphia, and he said that they're just going to have all kinds of precautions and hopes that if they do clinch it, it'll be a show of happiness and exuberance rather than violence and vandalism. It's been a long time. The Philadelphia Phillies have never won a World Series. Pretty apparent the Philadelphia Athletics won many with the great players they had, but these Phillies fans are ready, and the mayor and the people, the disc jockeys, the television people have really done a great job today telling the fans, hey, have fun, but let's not have any vandalism. Let's enjoy this. It's a great moment. But they still have to clinch it. We're in the bottom of the 7th. They're leading by 4. And it's ball 1. Foul back. Mike Schmidt is the on-deck batter, and I'll tell you, the most valuable player is going to be tough to choose. Boone is 7 for 17, a .412 average. Schmidt, who you see there, 8 for 20, a .400 average, 7 RBI, 6 runs, 2 home runs. Bo at .391. He set a double play record. I tell you, it's going to be tough. Foul back. 2 balls, 2 strikes. You better start thinking about it, guys. We got to vote.
Well, I haven't quite counted Kansas City out yet.
I haven't either.
I know you hadn't either. So I'm not even thinking voting for him. We just got one up here, but not yet.
George Brett knocks it down. Can't make the play. Base hit.
We've talked about Brett throughout this series as not being a one-dimensional ball player and how aggressive he is, not only with the bat, but with the glove. He almost robs Pete Rose of a base hit to left field. He is very quick. Brett weighs about 200 pounds, but you can see his agility right there. That ball was hit really hard, and yet he still got a glove on it after 2 or 3 quick steps in the dive. Splittorff is going to leave, Joe.
There you see George Brett with Frank White. 4 runs, 9 hits, no errors for Philadelphia. No runs, 3 hits and 1 error for the Kansas City Royals as Fry makes a pitching change. So we've got a break in the action, and there is Kenny Brett, George's brother. Marty Patton is coming in the ball game. We'll be right back after these messages. And here we go, Mike Schmidt. He had a tough playoff series. He said, but you'll hear from me. He started off slowly here, but they've heard from him. It's a strike. Donna Schmidt looking on.
Patton's first appearance in this series. He was 4-0 during the regular season with 4 saves.
There goes Rose. Swung on, missed. Here's the throw. It is in time. Nice play by Frank White. Low throw, scooped it up, put the tag on Rose, and he's out trying to steal.
It's kind of throw that an infielder taking a tag at second base doesn't mind. You'd like to have it down there, especially on this throw from Wathan and a short hop.
I can still remember Tony Gil Hodges, who was my great manager of the New York Mets, talking about sliding straight into the base. And you can see as Pete tries to get off to the side, the quickest way to the base is a straight line. Maybe he figures he knows he's out.
Struck him out. Mike Schmidt caught looking. Strikeout. So there are 2 away. Brings up Big McBride.
Patton's got a pretty good breaking ball, a slider, and Mike evidently looked like he was fooled on the pitch because it's right there. A fine pitch by Marty Patton.
McBride lined out, fouled at the first baseman, bounced out, drove in a run in the 5th. High chopper, Akins to Patton, gets by him. Big McBride trying to avoid the collision, falls down. Big McBride.
Patton almost didn't get over in time, and then he tried to cut across the bag. Akins let him a little bit too much time, made him extend himself, but this will give you an idea of Big McBride's speed. Akins a little bit too far out in front to Patton.
Good shot of Wathan backing up the play. It'll be an error on Akins.
Patton did get over there in good time, Tony. He made a good run to the line and goes up the line. It's the bad throw from Akins that pulls him into McBride's path. If he'd had a good throw, he'd been able to touch the bag and come right back into fair territory. But the bad throw pulled him in front of McBride.
So McBride is on. Batter is Luzinski. It's low, ball 1. 1 ball, 1 strike. Did he go around? Yes, he did. And it's strike 2.
Some of the errors in this series by Kansas City and mental mistakes as we look at this breaking pitch from Patton. And a stop by Wathan. But I think some of the mental mistakes and errors have really put this Kansas City Royals pitching staff in trouble throughout this series, Tom. They've made him make those extra pitches, given the extra out to the Phillies.
Strikeout. Luzinski is out on strike, so that ends the inning. And there is Gene Luzinski looking on, and much like Donna Schmidt, frustrated. That ends the 7th inning. The score at the end of 7 complete innings. It's Philadelphia 4 and Kansas City nothing. And due up for the Kansas City Royals in the 8th inning, trailing by 4. It'll be John Wathan, Jose Cardinal, and Frank White. John Wathan, Jose Cardinal, and Frank White. We are in the 8th inning. Philadelphia 4, Kansas City nothing. Carlton has struck out 7. He has walked 2. He has allowed 3 hits. 3 hits, single by Washington in the 4th. Double play and rubbed that out. After 2 strikeouts, he gave up a hit to Wathan. It's ball 1. That was in the 5th inning. And then Brett led off the 7th with a single. Carlton retired 3 men in a row. It's a strike. Carlton, to me now, is using the Sal Ruggeman theory, throwing strikes where the high ball hitters hit over it and the low ball hitters hit under it. He's throwing it right down the middle with something on it. He's got a... It's outside. Ruggeman was the pitcher with Detroit and the White Sox, and I love this theory. Throw it down the middle, low ball hitters hit under it, and high ball hitters hit over it.
That's a bad theory in the 6th game of the World Series. You get in a pattern, that would start just throwing the ball down the middle, and all of a sudden you get in the groove, and you get tattooed, and then can't get back in your rhythm.
And you start getting cute out there, nipping corners and walk somebody, and you're going to get nailed right to the outfield fence. 3-1 to count. The one thing he wants to stay away from are bases on balls. He walked him. A base on balls. That's the 3rd walk given up. First base runner here in the 8th. Cardinal the batter, nobody out. And now Boone wants to go out and talk to him. Keep in mind that it was McCarver who was always Carlton's catcher. He was his private catcher. In fact, Timmy used to make jokes saying, when we die, I'm going to be buried, as we look at McGraw in a bullpen, we're going to be buried 60 feet 6 inches apart. He just caught every game, but Booney's come on and he's done some job. 24-9, I got to believe it's quite a job. Cardinal, he is looking for his first base hit. Line drive, base hit. Cardinal has his first base hit. Wathan stops at second. Nobody out, and Frank White is the batter.
Tom, looked like a breaking ball, a slider that Carlton got up. Dallas Green, Bobby Wine. Is he going to make a move? He has McGraw ready.
I would believe that was kind of a sign he had with the bullpen when he went to his left arm as he came up to the top step of the dugout. McGraw is ready, and his crowd will really react when he comes on, because he has really been something. He is going to make a move, and Carlton should get a nice hand as he walks off. The crowd's starting to react already.
McGraw's had quite a day.
The crowd reacted to Carlton, who had such a tremendous year to put him here, and now McGraw.
Well, McGraw this afternoon started off by having a tugboat renamed after him. He christened it. There's your score, but McGraw, his 4th ball game, 1 win, 1 loss. Outstanding ERA this World Series, 1.59. I think amazingly, in 5 2/3 innings pitched, Tom, he's done what he did the last part of the season. Did it up in Montreal when he struck out 5 of 6 in a weekend game. He struck out 8, 5 2/3 innings.
You go across and look at his numbers, Tony. You say, well, 5 2/3. He's got 6 walks. His control has been bad. Well, Tug is a guy that'll look at an inning and find his out men. He has outstanding control of all the pitches that he can throw. A tremendous competitor, and I firmly believe in my mind in Game 5 back in Kansas City, there was no way that he was going to let Amos Otis beat him in that ball game. He wanted to pitch to Jose Cardinal for the 3rd out of the inning.
Tug McGraw, the man of the hour, in this crowd, some 65,838 reacted to him coming in. It's popped up in foul territory. Rose. 1 out. That brings up Willie Wilson as Rose hauls in the pop fly hit by Frank White. Wilson struck out in the 1st. He struck out in the 3rd. Tried to beat out a bunt, but Carlton got him in the 6th.
They have just powered the ball by Willie Wilson. We pointed out he has struck out 11 times. He is just a kid. He admitted before the game the pressure is really on him. He's tried too hard. He's been strangling that bat, and they've just been blowing the ball by him.
Ball 1. Screwball is high. 2 balls and no strikes. Strike. 2 balls, 1 strike. 3-1. Now he'll take a look down at the sign. McGraw pitching himself into trouble. If Wilson gets on, the tying run will be at the plate in the person of UL Washington, followed by George Brett. Wathan at second. Cardinal at first. Walked him, bases loaded, tying runs at the plate.
The obvious controversy in this inning, of course, is Dallas Green taking Steve Carlton out while pitching a shutout, just giving up 4 hits to the Royals through 7 innings and getting into the 8th with the first 2 men getting on. But a well-rested Tug McGraw in the bullpen, and the job that he's done so far, and the job that he's done down the last half of the season for the Phillies, plus the fact that Steve Carlton had pitched 350 innings, counting everything from the start of spring training.
UL Washington single in the 4th, struck out in the 1st, struck out in the 6th. Strike 1. The on-deck batters, we look at the base runners. Wathan at 3rd, Cardinal at 2nd. Willie Wilson is at 1st.
Tom, I guess you've got to go with what got you here. Fry's done the same thing with Quisenberry. McGraw's had the kind of year you just talked about, the finishing part of the season. McGraw's done the job more than Quisenberry has so far in this World Series.
Low screwball, 1 ball and 1 strike. There's the on-deck man, George Brett. 4-0. The tying run is in the batter's box. Left center field, Maddox taking charge, tagging up Wathan. He's going to try to score. He will. It's 4-1 as the throw goes in the 3rd. Sacrifice fly. So McGraw gets his 2nd out, and it brings up George Brett. 4-1. Base runners, Cardinals at 2nd. Wilson is at 1st.
This will be an interesting confrontation because in Game 5, in the 7th and the 9th inning, McGraw struck Brett out both times with fastballs high and away. Brett in this situation looks inside for 1 pitch or so, a ball he can pull. I doubt if he's going to have to take side, as the other guys have.
He's the tying run in the batter's box. He'll be swinging from the time thinking it from the time he left the bench. Strike 1. He's the one man they wanted up there in the spot. Here's the spot, and here's the man. One hopper, Trio gets it. Rose covering, safe, safe. He was off the bag. Bases are loaded.
McGraw went with a screwball, I believe, or a slow curve. Couldn't tell exactly what the action of the ball was. Trio makes an excellent play. McGraw, well, he was coming over in time, then Pete cut in front of him, and he just missed the bag.
If Pete had gotten out of the way of this ball, Tony, Tug McGraw, who we talked about the other day being an outstanding athlete, was right in position and would have beaten Brett to the bag. After that fastball gets out of the way, after here's the pitch to Brett, the breaking ball that he hits. After Pete goes after the ball and gets away from the bag, it's the pitcher's job to get over there. And I believe Tug had made that play had Pete not been in the way.
He had the throw in front of him. Rose had his back to Trio.
Here is Hal McRae now. 2 men out. It's high, ball 1. Remember, Willie Aikens on a ball came back to Gura, missed the bag, and Schmidt had a home run. Royals fans are saying, can lightning strike? McRae. Bases loaded. High. 2 balls, no strikes.
McRae has just 1 RBI in this World Series, but he hasn't had a whole lot of opportunities. He's let off a lot of innings. He has not left that many men on. He's gotten singles to keep rallies going.
High, ball 3. 3-0. McGraw. 3 balls, no strikes to McRae. And he took a good look at Gordy McKenzie. The bases are loaded. There are 2 outs. Phillies are leading 4-1. taking. It's a strike. Now he's thinking what he can look for as we see the defense and the base runners. Down the right field line near the stands. Rose giving it a chase. Out of play. 3 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. 8th inning, Philadelphia 4, Kansas City 1.
3 players with outstanding efforts. Rose will climb the tarp. McBride coming from right field, and Trio coming from his second base spot. What intensity.
George Brett, if you're scoring, was credited with the hit. Didn't mean to swing. Out of play.
I think if you talk to the Royals players who they'd like to have up in this situation, they name 1 or 2 men. Brett might be one, but that guy right there would rank very close to George Brett. He's been a tremendous clutch hitter for that ball club.
Not only the Royals, Tony, Dallas Green was quoted as saying he was the one man he didn't want to see up there in a game situation, McRae. And he's up there now. Bouncing ball, Trio, big hop, has it. Innings over. McGraw does it again. We go to the bottom of the 8th to score here. Phillies 4, Royals 1. For the Phillies, it'll be Gary Maddox, Manny Trio, and Larry Bowa.
The lead then swells to 4 and holds until the 8th inning when Tug McGraw relieves a tired Steve Carlton. The Royals break through for a run, and with the bases loaded, it's designated hitter Hal McRae versus designated stopper Tug McGraw. The Phillies have come out of the 8th inning alive and still well from another heart pounder. Still, this slap-happy fellow has a truly astonishing flair for drama, and the 9th inning will provide even more.
On a 3-2 count, Tug McGraw with Hal McRae at the plate. This may well be the biggest pitch of the series. Bases loaded and the runners are going. A fastball, it looks like, in the outside part of the plate. Hal McRae looked like he was looking for something inside. A ground ball at Manny Trio and over to first, and the Phillies get out of the inning with just giving up 1 run. The Phillies lead 4-1 with 3 outs to go to be world champions.
And there he goes again. McGraw, very emotional, hyper, pounding his heart. Here's Gary Maddox, and he's in the race for the most valuable player as we look at Quisenberry, who's come on for the Kansas City Royals. It's ball 1, pitching off the stretch as he has throughout most of this series, even with nobody on. Time is called. A firecracker just went off in center field. And the crowd really reacting the way they should.
You can see the stats of Dan Quisenberry. 1 win, 2 losses, high ERA. And he has struggled. He has been the salvation of this Royals ball club throughout most of the season. He has done his job every time.
2 balls, no strikes.
He has gotten ground balls in this series. Some have bounced over, some through. They've hit him kind of hard. Schmidt has hit him hard several times. Draw's done the job, and Quisenberry hasn't often enough for Kansas City.
Down the left field line, Willie Wilson near the stands. May have a play. He does. Willie Wilson makes the catch. So Maddox is out. There is 1 out. Quisenberry has appeared in all 6 games as we look at Wilson. It's a new World Series record for 6 games. Wilson finds the fence, as you see. Moves up, makes the catch. The old record in 6 games was 4 appearances by Larry Sherry in 1959 and Jerry Staley for the White Sox in 59. But Quisenberry sets a new record should the series end in 6. got the big base hit in Kansas City off Quisenberry. Line went right back at him to drive in Del Unser, who had driven in Schmidt to tie the game with a pinch hit double. Bouncing ball, UL Washington, big hop. 2 outs. Looking ahead to the 9th, Amos Otis, Willie Aikens, and John Wathen as we look at the Kansas City bench.
Larry has heard some boos from these people this year, but not in this World Series the way he's played, with the bat and with the glove. He on a radio show he has blasted Dallas Green late in the season.
Fly ball, right field. Cardinal is there. 3 up, 3 down. We complete 8 innings, and now we go to the 9th. And the score: Philadelphia 4, Kansas City 1. Fans are on their feet. The Phillies have never won a World Series. Keep that in mind. And it'll be up to Tug McGraw to nail it down. And 2 up. For Kansas City, it'll be Amos Otis, a hot hitter, Willie Aikens, a power hitter, and John Wathen.
Danny Ozark, not leaving anything to chance, is going to have a right-hander and a left-hander throwing. Wayne Twitchell, the righty, Tug McGraw, the lefty.
And in the bullpen for the Reds, Jack Billingham, the right-hander, along with Will McInerney. Foster at the drive to deep left field, and she'll be gone. George Foster hits a 1-2 pitch over the wall and left, and it's 6-5. Vince, 4 years ago, almost to the day, came up with nobody out, bottom of the 9th inning, and homered to tie Game 5 against Pittsburgh. It's a deep center field. Barry Maddox goes all the way back at the wall. Gone! Johnny Vince! It's a home run to tie the game. It is 6-6. Little number. Nolan has to come home, and the Reds win the pennant.
One strike to Davalillo. 2 outs, 9th inning. Gene Garber in his 3rd inning. A drag bunt, it's a beauty by Davalillo. Sizemore tried to pull it off with a scoop, but no chance. A base hit for Vic Davalillo. Here's a replay on that drag bunt. Just perfectly dragged by the crafty Davalillo. Sizemore had no chance. The 2-strike pitch. Fly ball deep left. Luzinski going away back. And this ball is trapped by Luzinski. It's a double for Manny Mota. Gets away. Coming in to score Davalillo. Mota will hold at third. I believe he's holding at third base. Luzinski could not pull it off. A double for Mota, and then an error as the ball got away. It's now a 5-4 ball game, and this game not over yet. Here's Davey Lopes' game on the line. Ground ball off Schmidt to Boa. A throw. Yes! No! Not in time! This game is tied. Not in time, and we have an argument. Manny Mota has tied the ball game and went off the glove of Schmidt to Larry Boa. What a recovery by Boa. We have an argument, and we'll see the play. Unbelievable circumstance. If it was a tie, it was an accurate call. Oh, so close. Lopes is running a base hit to center field, and Davey Lopes is going to score, and the Dodgers have taken a 6-5 lead in the 9th. What a comeback by the Los Angeles Dodgers. He struck him out. The Los Angeles Dodgers are the National League Eastern Division champions. Tommy John going the distance. A brilliant job by Tommy John. Finished with 8 strikeouts, and the Dodgers will go on to the World Series to play either the Kansas City Royals or the New York Yankees.
The 3-0 pitch. Ball 4. So the winning run at first base. Ron saves. at first, and the 2 down, Dusty Baker, who's had a perfect day. 3 singles and a double. 4 for 4 today. He's hitting .500 in the series. He is 7 for 14. Baker hits it into center field. Maddox coming in and drops the ball. Shea will have to stop at second.
Well, a little looper into center field, and Gary Maddox looked like he had it all the way.
The 1-0 pitch.
It's all
over
over if
center
this
field
guy-
for a base hit. Ron Sabine waved in. It's all over as it gets by Maddox. The Dodgers win the pennant again.
Tomorrow night, NBC Nightly News examines the blue-collar vote. And Friday on NBC Magazine with David Brinkley, Betsy Aaron looks at kids' sports. Are they too strenuous for 6-, 7-, and 8-year-olds? And then next month, Roger Mudd joins NBC News. This is the 9th. The crowd's on its feet. And Amos Soda is checking his vision. The crowd will pretty much tell you what's happening in this 9th inning.
There's Aikens on deck. But if you wonder if the Phillies win this, and they look like they're going at this point, they will get $34,270 each. 42 shares. That is not official.
Strike. Minnesota's disagreeing with the plate umpire, Nick Bremigan, as McGraw just waits. Two balls, 2 strikes.
Screwball. He set him up beautifully, Tom, with a fastball the pitch before. Well, I guess it was a slow curve, wasn't it? Wasn't a screwball.
Looked like an off-speed breaking ball, Tony, but he had him set up beautifully. He really did. Tug, of course, has 4 or 5 pitches that he can use at any one time, and he's a master at using them when he's on.
Willie Aikens, the batter. 1 out. Phillies 4, Kansas City 1, top of the 9th. Nobody on.
Kansas City knows that McGraw got himself in trouble in game number 5 over in Kansas City. A couple of base on balls, got himself in trouble. And this is, they're looking for a place to get their foot in the door, and this is what they want.
Balls and a strike. Three and 2. 1 out. Willie Aikens draws the base on balls, and the crowd goes down. up with the strikes. They have never won a World Series, the Philadelphia Phillies. We're going to have a pinch runner here. As you see Concepcion come out of the dugout. This town has been waiting for it a long time. We saw it all day today, all day yesterday.
McGraw, as he did in inning number 8, might be back in a little bit of trouble. He walked 2 in the 8th. Now he walks Aikens.
Time is called down the right field line as we look at Aikens. It's been a tremendous championship series, a tremendous series, and should this end tonight, there really are no winners and no losers. They both are winners and losers. Both teams played well. A tremendous series. One out, base runner at first, strike 1. How these Phillies battled all year. Kansas City, great year. Base hit, right field. Concepcion stops at second. 1 out, tying run is at the plate again in Cardinal as Wathan gets his second hit of the night. Sends the buzz through the stands. Cardinal singled his last time up. They've been referring to these Phillies, as we see an overhead shot, as the cardiac kids. And once again, the tying run is at the plate, which has been typical of this whole series. They have gone, both clubs, to the 27th out. Foul back. 27th out with the chance to win. Pickoff play at first. They're going to have a little bit of an argument, maybe. No. Almost blocked him, Martinez says. He does get back, Wathan.
Pretty dangerous play in this kind of situation, but Booney with a great confidence in his arm. Rose sneaking back. A play that was pre-planned. Rose caught the foot of John Wathan, almost shielded him off the bag. Never did tag him, though.
Pete Rose can't get in the front door, try the back door. He'll try anything. 2-2 pitch. Foul back. Line drive, center field. It is a base hit. They're going to hold everybody up. The bases are loaded. And Frank White is the batter. The tying runs are on. There you see Martinez, the coach at first base, as he pats Cardinal at second base. Wathan, Concepcion stopped at third. And Frank White is the batter.
I think it's just marvelous as we look at Delacree, the way this Kansas City ball club, who looked like they were completely beaten by Carlton early in this ballgame when he was almost overpowering them, have come back in both the 8th and the 9th inning and threatened this Phillies ball club.
Frank White, who is 2 for 24 in the batter's box. It's popped up. Boone, Rose, they'll have a play. Boone dropped it and Rose caught it. Rose was right there. It popped out of his glove and Rose made the play.
Give me an idea as we look at Boone approaching the dugout. He picks it up. How much Pete Rose hustled. He came over to help out if he needed the help. It scoots away, and Rose keeps it from going in the dugout. So they get it out. The hustle of Pete Rose.
Pete Rose, a tremendous play. He's like the garbage collector that they refer to in the hockey games. He's always around the puck. He was around the ball. It popped out of Boone's glove. What a play he made. Strike. Willie Wilson. you see the Canine Corps in the backdrop.
Part of the security here at the stadium. We talked about it before.
Kansas City bullpen making their way in. Fouled off. UL Washington, the on-deck hitter. It is 2 strikes on Willie Wilson. Bases loaded. 2 outs. What pressure on McGraw? What pressure on Wilson? Ball 1. The crowd will tell you what happens. Well, the Philadelphia Phillies are the world champions. It's happening here in the stands. Mike Schmidt is the most valuable player. And now in the clubhouse of the world champion Philadelphia Phillies, we have Brian Gumbel. Brian?
Okay, Joe, I don't know what it's like outside, but it's bedlam inside. Larry Bowa, 9 hits in the series, a hit in at least every game, record-setting number of double plays. This has got to feel wonderful.
Oh, man, I can't tell you how good I feel right now, Brian. Everybody said we couldn't win. They said, no, the Phillies aren't good enough. They don't have heart. They don't have character. We have all of the above, believe me. We want to win more than anybody. Tug's scared us. Kansas City's got a great baseball team.
Let me get to this man behind you. Dallas Green.
I see you, Peter.
Pete Rose. Now, you've been through this before. Don't you ever get tired of it?
No, you'll never get tired of this, Brian. We've been through a lot of adversity this year. We won the big ones. We've been coming back for the last 8 weeks, and we beat a good team in Montreal, and then we beat a good team in Houston, and we beat a good team in Kansas City.
I've got to think that foul ball that you caught at the end typified the Phillies season. Hanging on the edge, getting things when it seemed like you wouldn't.
Well, things were bouncing our way the last couple months, and that was a perfect example of it. You know, I knew Booney had it all the way, and he was calling it, just come out of there, and I just, nothing else to do, but I just go over there and try to back him up a little bit.
Did a wonderful job. Let me see if I can get to Dallas. Dallas, it has been a season of confrontation, a season of some displays that you would sooner forget, I'm sure, a season of tension for you. The moment is worth it.
Yeah, it is, Brian. We're world champions. There's a lot of people in baseball didn't think we could be. I knew in my heart we could be. I think in September, from then on, our ball players knew we could be. Paul Owens knew we could be, and he's the guy that directed this thing all the way. I'm proud of everybody on our baseball team.
Why did this Philly team win it when others did not? Why this one?
They had heart, and I use the term character. Character is a hard thing to explain unless you've been through what we've been through in September in the playoffs and in the World Series, Bryant. This team is just an unbelievable baseball team right now. We could beat anybody in the world.
Paul Owens, you have been through the bad times with this team. You have been here when people called it a country club atmosphere that could not win. The man on your right, how much of the credit does he take? I know he wants to give it to his players. How much do you want to give to him?
I want to give a lot of to him because the man went down and did the job that he and I knew that we had to do, and the players responded. And it may took 4 or 5 months to get it across, but he did it, and I'm so damn proud because it probably was the best move I ever made in my whole baseball career.
This may seem like an inappropriate time to ask it. Is he your manager next year?
You're damn right. If he wants it, he's got it.
Dallas, you said the way to get rid of you was to win it all. Do you want to be back here?
I do what Pope tells me to do. We'll see. It's too early to tell.
And that's with love and respect. That isn't without it, because he's got his own mind, and that's why he's down here. And that's why a guy like...
Let me get to 45 for a minute. Tugger, come here for a minute. Did you milk the moment for us? Was that just for our benefit?
I was running out of gas, Brian.
When the playoffs ended, it was said, hey, you pitched in every game, that if somebody touched your left arm, it would fall off. But instead, you pitched in the series. You won 1 game. You saved 2. A lot of time to rest now.
Well, Brian, I just ran out of gas today. I kept getting in trouble. I was missing with pitches, but I just heard everybody yelling and hollering, and all the guys were out there screaming and hollering. I saw them police dogs running on the field. I said, reach back and find some extra. That's what this whole team's been reaching back and finding some extra, it seems like, since Moby Dick was a guppy. But, Brian, it just was there when we needed it. I'd like to say hello to my mom and my little brother out in California, my Uncle Henry out there, too, and they need it.
Tugger, thank you. Let me grab Bob Boone in here. Booney, you came into the game hitting .400. You picked up another hit in this one. You caught solid baseball throughout, despite some nagging pains. Steve had a lot of stuff early on, didn't he?
Steve threw very well, Brian. I thought he got a little tired there at the end, and I had alerted the bench to it. Earlier, and when he struggled at all, Tug's been doing such a great job. We went to Tug right away, and the Royals being very selective naturally in that situation, he was just a little fine and just missing. But once again, he came through, and this club has just done it all year. It's fantastic.
Booney, congratulations. Thank you much. Let me bring Gary Maddox in here. Gary, you are one of the people. Congratulations.
Thanks,
you
Brian.
were one of those who had your problems with Dallas Green as this year went along. Willing to forgive and forget?
All the way. It's world championship time now, so we're happy about that.
Are you willing to admit now that what he did, he had to do?
Well, in his mind, I'm sure he felt he did what he had to do. Sometimes it just... you got to make an adjustment. You got to go along with what the manager feels is right, whether you like it or not. After we've been around for a while, we think that maybe we have our own ideas of how things should be done, and the manager's in charge. You have to accept that.
Would you like to see him return as manager?
Yeah, if we can go back and be world champions again, I don't care who's here.
I must say, before the game, I came up to Gary Maddox, and I said, Gary, how you feel? He said, I'm nervous. You're not nervous now?
No, I'm happy now. Here, I got a drink for you. You got to have.
I can't. On national TV, I cannot. The booth. Joe, you've got it.
All right, Brian, right here on the field. What a display. The Philly players came out led by Pete Rose and Dallas Green, and you see what's happening. A very emotional scene here. You saw it in the clubhouse. Now you see it out here. But on the other side, the Kansas City Royals, really not losers. Let's go to Merle Harmon in the Kansas City clubhouse.
All right, Joe, and as you can imagine, it's rather quiet here. But as you said, there can be no loser in a World Series like this, Jim Fry, because you fellas played it right to the hilt. You had a chance to win it in the 8th. You had a chance to win it in the 9th. And no loser in this entire series did not have an opportunity to win in the last inning.
Well, I'm proud of the way the ball club came back in this game. We came back hard in the 8th, and we just couldn't get that base hit in the 8th or 9th. I think that's the whole story of the series. I thought we played as well as they did, but we just couldn't get that one hit or that ball to go in the hole for us. But I want everybody to know that we're as proud as we can be to be Kansas City Royals, because we had one great year.
All right, what about the comeback for next year?
We're going to try. We hope we can be in the World Series and try it again.
All right, Jim, congratulations to you. Now let's go back to Bryant Gumbel.
Okay, Merle Harmon, thank you very much. One of our oldest cities has waited one of the longest times for this moment. They got close to it in 15, got close to it in 50, but a championship has finally come to Philadelphia. Bowie Kuhn, I know you've got some honors to do.
I am delighted to be able to present this trophy representing the World Championship to Willie Carpenter, the skipper here, Dallas Green, to Paul Owen, three men who have done a fantastic job to bring this championship to Philadelphia. All baseball is proud of you fellas. Your trophy.
Really, a couple of words on how agonizing the wait for this moment?
Well, Brian, I just hope that this town doesn't have, this franchise has been in existence maybe 96 years, I think I saw in the paper, and I hope to hell they don't have to wait 96 years for another World Championship. It's the greatest thing that's ever happened to me in my life. And this man here and Dallas Green, Paul Owens, Dallas Green, and these ball players and coaches and our whole organization have just done a fantastic job for us.
Did you know that Paul and Dallas already consummated a deal for next year? He's back?
No way. We haven't gotten into that yet. No, but it's just the greatest thing that's ever happened to my family.
Really, thank you very much. Dallas Green, Paul Owens, congratulations. Perhaps fitting that it comes down to Philadelphia after a long season that we had many surprises. For a time, it looked like we would not even have any players to play in this World Series. But when you consider that a team comes and occupies first place for only 16 days, manages to win a championship only after being behind in every game, and comes on and wins no game in the series but this last one by more than 2 runs, maybe the best things in life are worth struggling for. Indeed, in the Philadelphia Phillies case, one has to believe that's true. Joe?
Okay, Brian, thank you very much. You see the celebration here. You heard Jim Fry. And I'll tell you, it was a series that every game, they went to the 9th inning, the 27th out with a chance to win it. The world champion Philadelphia Phillies, 4-1. Tony, you have any thoughts?
Well, I'm going to remember some of the Royals' performances. The Willie Mays Aikens with 4 home runs, a triple, a game-winning RBI. The frustration of Willie Wilson, a great young player who struck out 12 times, but he will be back because he's very young. That is the Royals side, and there's some pluses for them, too. Tom Seaver?
Joe, I don't think that I ever saw the Royals play the kind of baseball that they played against the Yankees. We know that they're an awfully fine club, but for me, it came down to the pitching, which, of course, is my heartland. And it comes down to Quisenberry and McGraw. McGraw simply outpitched the fine reliever from Kansas City, Quisenberry.
Well, the Philadelphia Phillies are the world champions, and all of us at NBC Sports would like to thank some people here in Philadelphia and Kansas City for all the help they gave us. Behind the scenes, Dean Vogelar, Bruce Carnahan, Brian Burns, Larry Schenk, Chris Wheeler. Our thanks to them. Congratulations to the Phillies. Congratulations to the Kansas City Royals. And for Tom Seaver and Tony Kubek, Joe Garagiola saying so long from Philadelphia. Game 6 of the 1980 World Series has been brought to you by Gillette Atra, the pivoting head razor. The pivot makes it better. And by the Miller Brewing Company, brewers of Miller High Life. If you've got the time, we've got the beer. By GE, at GE, we bring good things to life. And by Ford and your local Ford dealer, who invite you to test drive the new 1981 Ford cars and trucks. The executive producer of NBC Sports is Don Ohlmeyer. The coordinating producer of baseball is Michael Weissman. Produced by George Finkel. Directed by Harry Coyle. Pre-game produced by David Stern. Pre-game and replays directed by Ken Fouts. Technical director, Horace Ruiz. Associate producers, Michael Hadley, Peter M. Roth, Glenn Adamo, and Bill Peters. Associate directors, Richard Klein, John Filippelli. Production manager, Steve Foreman. The Phillies, the world's champions, as they beat Kansas City tonight by the score of 4-1. They end the World Series in 6 games. Heroes on all sides, and Mike Schmidt was voted the most valuable player in this World Series. Steve Carlton came on, pitched strong for the Philadelphia Phillies tonight, but the Royals, as both ball clubs did during this entire World Series, came to that 9th inning, and Tug McGraw, who I guess said it for this World Series when he kept pounding his heart after he'd get that 3rd out in a crucial spot. These Philadelphia Philly fans have been waiting a long time to celebrate, and they will be celebrating tonight because the scoreboard here in Veterans Stadium says it all. World champions. And what an emotional scene it was for Paul Owens, a baseball man all his life. Made a deal, made a move that really had to be a tough one. Took Dallas Green from the front office, put him on the field, and Dallas Green took some raps, but he did it his way. And it was the right way because they are the world champions. What a battle it was for them against Montreal. What a battle against the Kansas City Royals. You must say the Kansas City Royals had quite a year. They built up a big lead, 3 straight from the Yankees. They sat back and watched the Phillies play Houston, came here ready, but not ready enough. World champions, the Philadelphia Phillies, first time ever. Now remember, on Thursday, it's Games People Play, featuring the World Series wives in a tug-of-war. You'll enjoy that. We saw them tape it. We enjoyed it. Saturday at Sports World, and Sunday NFL regional football, highlighted by the Pittsburgh-Cleveland game. Now stay tuned for late news, followed by The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson. On the West Coast and most Mountain Time Zone stations, these programs will be seen at their regular time. Phillies are the world champions.
Tug McGraw fires to Frank White, who pops it up. A miraculous grab by Pete Rose might just stand as the most lasting image of this stirring series. After all that it took to get here, the new Phillies can't afford to let it slip away now. It goes in the books as out number 2. The Phillies need just one more strike to wrap it up, and Willie Wilson stands in the way. At 11:29 p.m., October 21st, 1980, the ghosts of Phillies past are finally laid to rest. The team that couldn't win the big one has taken the ultimate, and the fans who never had a champion have a World Series winner. It was 98 years in coming, but as any Philadelphia fan will tell you, it was well worth the wait. The 6-game Philly triumph brings tears to the eyes of General Manager Paul Owen and Philly fans everywhere. In looking back at the 1980 World Series, there were heroes galore. The Phillies' Bake McBride set the tone of the series, spearheading the first-game comeback with his resounding 3-run homer. Amos Otis had a series-high .478 batting average and a bevy of clutch hits for the Royals. Hal McRae, one of only 2 Royals with previous World Series experience, gave KC a dependable DH. While Willie Aikens conducted a vicious assault on Philadelphia's pitching and became the first player ever to hit 2 home runs in 2 games of the same series. Perhaps the most unsung hero of the series was Philly Ironman Bob Boone, who courageously shrugged off a foot injury to bat .412 and catch every inning. Shortstop Larry Bowa triggered a World Series record 7 double plays and led the Phillies in both base hits and stolen bases while adding a boyish enthusiasm. But the most exuberant Philly was reliever Tug McGraw, who won 1 game, saved 2 others, and kept everyone's heart thumping. The Royals' George Brett displayed his incomparable batting stroke to the whole world. Steve Carlton, the man they call Lefty, struck out 17 in 15 innings and accounted for 2 of the Phillies' 4 wins. And finally, Mike Schmidt, who silenced his critics by winning the World Series MVP trophy, then saying graciously, "I'd like to chop it up into at least 25 pieces and give some to all the other guys." One and all, the 1980 Philadelphia Phillies are baseball's world champions.
Every Phillies fan remembers exactly where they were at that moment. For all the players and all the fans, a million different memories. A true sweet spot in time. And in a perfect world, it would have been accompanied by a Harry Kalas call.
I'm speechless. I've been sitting around all the time. I haven't even had a drink of champagne yet, and all I've done is smile and almost cry. I love it.
We're just tickled to be here. You know, it took us a long time to get here.
More satisfied for a lot of people. Lazinski, Schmidt, Boa, Maddox, Boone. You know, people, Maddox have been so close so many times and never reached the World Series. And for the Philly fans.
If I hadn't have gotten Wilson out, if I'd have walked him or something like that, I don't know what Dallas had in mind, but I was ready to call him out there and say, Dallas, I just have nothing left. So,
is that right?
Yeah, I was a goner.
Our pitching staff's going to be super next year. And you know, we're
thinking about next year?
Oh yeah, because
see, he's like that. He drives us crazy.
You know,
what do you mean? That's why we never give up. Next year,
we're world champions. There's a lot of people in baseball didn't think we could be. I knew in my heart we could be. I think in September, from then on, our ball players knew we could be. Paul Owens knew we could be, and he's the guy that directed this thing all the way.
It's the greatest thing that's ever happened to me in my life. And this man here and Dallas Green, Paul Owens, Dallas Green, and these ball players and coaches and our whole organization have just done a fantastic job for us.
And by the next morning, when all the laughter and all the tears had subsided, we all found out how much we meant to the city of Philadelphia.
I don't think that there was any question at the end of the 1980 season when we were in that parade how the town of Philadelphia felt about the Phillies.
They were like a 10th man on the field for us through the whole. They were unbelievable, and without them, that parade and everything about that World Series, that's something you never forget. That's the greatest thing that's ever happened to me.
Actually, we thought the parade was going to be a relaxing thing, and it just became this monstrous emotional high that was probably the greatest moment of my life.
But all the way, there were people on light posts up in the trees, and they were still, a lot of them hadn't even gone to bed. They were partying, and they were screaming, and they were part of us.
It was the greatest feeling in the world to have 1.5 million people up on that high float, throwing real flowers, not something you bought in a Woolworth or something.
You have a sense of love for these people. You can understand their pain of not having anything like that for a long period of time.
I don't think I could ever see a more awesome sight in sports. Just seeing the same expression on 1 million faces.
When we came around Patterson and made a right, and there was about another 80,000 people in that thing, I just started crying. I mean, it just was pouring, but it was happy crying.
We love you. Thank you so much. Most beautiful fans in the country. 1980 Philadelphia Phillies, world champions of baseball.
We now had in our portfolio, all of us, he's a winner.